What's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of Talking Figures. As always, I am Tony. Today's guest comes to us all the way from the volunteer state. Uh, you can catch his smooth, sultry voice over on his channel at 3 Star Draw. There you'll see his toy hunts, his unboxings, and his review videos. He is 1/3 of the Backyard Battlefield with Aaron the Toy Enhancer and Krusty Old Crow. He's also a co-host of Seven's Wild with his cousin Pop Blender. He's cool. He's calm. He's bad. He's got the smoothest voice in the business. Please welcome, joining us all the way from his skelf, the one and only 3 Star Draw, aka Down South77. Welcome to the show, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on. It's a hell of an introduction there. I hope I can live up to all that.
I'm sure you will, brother. I'm sure you will. I've catched you on the live streams nowadays, and I'm liking what you're putting down, brother. So I definitely wanted to sit down and talk some toys with you today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's something I never really saw myself doing, so I'm glad there's at least one person that enjoys listening to it.
Hey, man, listen. I thought I was the only one too. When I first started doing all this shit, and then I decided to take it to YouTube and kind of share my little journey here, I didn't think anybody was going to want to listen or watch.
Yeah.
So to find all you guys is pretty impressive, and it's like I said, I know the word community has become like a curse word now, so nobody wants to say that word. But I started referring to it as the Toyverse. So in the Toyverse, we all have different stories to tell, and I want to hear everybody's, and you're one of them. So I'm happy to have you on the program today.
Yes, sir. That's nice. Pop Blender, my cousin, kind of has popularized the fellowship lately, and that's not for everybody. Maybe that's not everybody's choice of word for it. And I still catch myself. I still say community. That's what it is. But I look at it like the community is like the broader spectrum, right? Like everybody, and then
Exactly.
what he refers to as the fellowship as this broad or this narrower circle of people that are kind of congregate together, same chats,
Yeah.
and different people I guess have their own. But either way, I'm glad to be part of it, whatever the hell people want to call it. So I like
Exactly.
Toyverse.
Exactly. Yeah, I figure start calling it the Toyverse because there's so many different I don't want to say departments, but there's so many different variations of this collecting community. Like
Yeah.
I said, some people just collect, some people do photography, some people do stop motion, some people just build dials. Like yesterday, I don't know if you were in on Punk with Toys is Thursday with a friend, but he was just talking random diorama, and he don't even really collect toys. He just makes dioramas.
Yeah,
He-
I did. I watched most of it, and I was that was a really good Thursday with a friend.
yeah.
Random is hilarious, and of course we know Punk, but I wound up I had to make some phone calls during
Mm,
the latter part of it. But yeah, random's a trip, man. And you
yeah.
watch his stuff, and he'd just be sitting there talking and chats going back and forth, and he's just cutting up, and then you really like actually pay attention and you're like, holy shit, he's like built this whole thing during this
Yeah,
stream. It's great.
exactly. It's impressive, and like I said, the fact that he doesn't even really collect it,
Yeah.
he's not really into the action figure genre. He's just into making stuff.
Yeah. That's
That
amazing.
impressed me very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me start off as always. I always ask this of my guests as the first question, and it always takes them back. But when did you start collecting? What was the figure that got you collecting? And since then, what is your favorite line to continue to collect?
Okay. And when you say it, you mean like as an adult, that's how you mean this,
As
right?
an adult, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because I know everybody gets the toys when they're kids and
Yeah.
they play with them, but I'm talking about when you started to actually look at these things like, "Oh, man, I wanna put these things on a shelf. I do wanna play with them, but I just wanna keep these things pristine. I don't wanna lose anything. I wanna keep them
Uh,
good."
I probably come out of my cocoon or my shell as that period from kid to adult, young adult.
Yeah.
Probably the Power of the Force 2 line. I think it's
Oh, okay.
probably that way for for a lot of people when that line come out in 95, and that's a pretty small gap between those ages. But when that line come out, I had my own money,
Yeah.
I was working. I still lived at home, but I was working. I was able to buy stuff that I liked and collect things that I liked. And when that line come back out, I was like, man, Star Wars
Yeah.
is back. And I kind of went hard on Power of the Force too. I had a huge room that was the last I think that yeah that was the last house that I lived in with my mom before
Okay.
I got my own place, and it had a finished basement, and she let me have that for my room. And it was this big, I mean, it was probably 1,000 square feet.
Oh,
It
hell
was
yeah.
like half of the downstairs, and she just let me have it for my bedroom. Had
Oh,
my
right
own
on.
had my own door in and out,
Yeah. Oh, nice, dude.
uh,
Nice.
when we were over
S-
there.
So now, when you started collecting Power of the Force, was it like so? Essentially, you were all in. Now, did you keep them in package? Did you take them out? Did you display them on the shelves? What'd you do with them?
I mostly They were mostly in package, but I
Okay.
also had a huge collection of loose ones. I had displays set up and
Okay.
little stuff like kind of tertiary characters, that
Mm.
you wanted, but you might not have. They don't really fit in with
Yeah.
whatever you're doing on the shelf. Those guys I left packaged, and then all of the main characters, the big characters, and especially characters that we'd never had before. I bought
Yeah.
doubles of just about everything.
Oh,
So
right on, dude. Right on. So now that's 1995. You're
mhm.
collecting. Is that the start, and that's when it doesn't stop? It just continues to snowball all the way through the aughts into it's up till now.
No, there's lulls in there.
Okay.
Just as life goes on and moves and you know just life. There were periods where I didn't. There was periods where I couldn't collect because I didn't have the money to collect.
Okay.
And I've always picked up something here and there. I might not always had a giant shelf, a giant display, and been going out and hunting every morning and things like that. But that Power of the Force kind of carried me through that, and
Okay.
I quit collecting it, and then the next, I guess, was at the end of the '90s when GI Joe started coming back in with
Yeah.
the Devil's Due comic,
Yeah.
and we got the GI Joe versus Cobra figures that turned into spy troops, and like I went hard on those. I had my own
Okay.
place. My
Okay.
little office computer room was nothing but a giant display room, mostly for Joe's, but I had Star Wars stuff in there too. And I kind of went through spurts of that where
Okay.
I'd find something and I'd get big into it, and then a situation would change. Maybe I was dating someone or engaged to someone at
Yeah.
that time, and the situation just kind of evolved and took the stuff down. But
Yeah.
there's always stuff I kept, and it would go through phases.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know.
Right on, dude. So let me ask you this, because you said now you got back into GI Joe in the late '90s.
Mhm.
So like GI Joe was the first love, or was it Star Wars? Which one was the first love for you?
As a kid, like
Yeah.
starting out, oh, it was Star Wars. Actually,
It was Star Wars. Yeah. Okay.
the first toys that I remember playing with, I know that I had Star Wars before them, but was
Okay.
really He Man. Um,
Okay. Right on. Right on.
but I had both, but Star Wars kind of, I think for people my age, that's probably the way it went for a lot of people. You had Star Wars and He Man, and then if you got into Joe, as you got older, you kind of traded the fantasy element a little bit
Yeah.
for a more realistic.
Realistic.
So,
Yeah, more realistic feel. I
yeah.
feel like for me that was when I discovered Rambo.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like I was into the swords and sorcery thing for a while, but then I discovered John Rambo, and I was like, wait a minute, I kind of like the realism, like
Yeah.
the guns and the explosions and the action.
Yeah.
Which don't get me wrong, I still love swords and sorcery, but nothing will replace that first memory when I discovered Rambo.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anything does, man. I mean, I remember watching First Blood when you know,
Yeah.
when I was little. I mean, I got to watch it. Like, there were only a few movies I was restricted from watching, and that wasn't one
Yeah.
of them. So,
Facts, dude. Yeah, facts.
yeah.
Because when I was a kid, my father, he was watching Conan the Barbarian. That's how I got into swords and
Oh
sorcery
yeah,
the first time. So I was like, "What are you watching?" And he goes, "It's Conan." And then I was like, "Really?" And then he started showing me the comics, then the books, and then I was like, "Okay." And then we started watching like Beastmaster
yeah,
and what is that one with the they had like Dragon Slayer, where they made like five of those fucking
yeah.
movies. And then
Excalibur was from back then.
yeah,
Yeah,
that movie too. We watched the one with Tom Cruise. What was it called?
Legend.
Legend. Yeah, that
You
one
ought to
too.
remember
And
that
then
one.
yeah, and then as I got, as we get a little older, he started to show me Rambo. He showed me First Blood, Rambo 2, and I think by that time Rambo 3 was coming out. So now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what is this? And then he said, well, then he would do this thing. This is how he got me into GI Joe. I'll never forget it. Is in the mornings to wake me up, he would turn on GI Joe and then blast the intro. So that was like my alarm was the GI Joe theme.
Yeah,
So that was pretty cool, man. That's how I got into awesome. But once I discovered Rambo and GI Joe, I was like, no, I like the more realistic feel. Like Swords and Sorcery is cool, but it's not as cool as this stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah, for
plus
sure.
the GI Joe toys, and just like I guess the Star Wars toys, they just came with so many cool accessories like vehicles and just world building elements that the superhero stuff never really came with. I noticed.
No, not really. I mean, you had a few, we had superpowers back then, and I had a few of
Yeah.
those. I mean, I had a little bit of everything, but yeah, you're right. That was, GI Joe. Nothing had as much as GI Joe.
No.
It was an imaginary juggernaut.
It was crazy. Like because I remember going to like, and I assume you can remember this, going to the toy aisle, and most of it was GI Joe at the time, and
Oh yeah,
like, I mean, just big giant boxes with play sets and vehicles, and then all the figures over above it. I used to remember being in awe of the GI Joe aisle itself, just thinking like, oh my god, there's so much that you can choose from here. It does. You'd be here for fucking months just picking what you want.
yeah, and all of their packaging was so great. So,
Yeah,
it jumped out at you. But yeah, you're right. Like, most of your toys then had, they might have a 3 foot or a 4 foot shelf. Some of them would have maybe
yeah,
two. GI Joe had like 16 fucking feet of stuff
shit.
because they had to fit the vehicles on there too.
Hell yeah, hell yeah! 'Cause I remember seeing what you call it in the store, the flag.
Oh yeah,
And I remember my mother just looked at me. She goes, don't even entertain the thought."
yeah,
I was like, "Oh man!" Like that thing was so big, but dude, I'm right there with you in terms of what, because like for me, like I was into Star Wars, and I might be one of those like mainstream dickheads that just really like the space wizards. I was really
yeah,
into the Force and the dark side and the laser swords and stuff like that. So that's kind of what got me with Star Wars.
yeah,
But I liked the like you, I like the real element. Even like with Conan, because Conan, while swords and sorcery, still had an element, especially the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, had like this real feeling to it of this grit. So I was just like, I like those kinds of movies, not like the space movies.
yeah.
And that's kind of why I never really went the Star Wars route. I just stuck with swords and sorcery, and then like basically graduated to superheroes and GI Joe.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I've talked to that kind of went that direction,
Yeah, yeah,
like Star Wars, but didn't love it and stayed more
yeah,
like with the barbarian stuff because it was still fantasy, but it's a little more grounded. It's not a
yeah,
opera, you had a
exactly, yeah,
lot more
exactly.
killing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So now you say on and off, some relationships change, how things are going in terms of the collecting world. When do you start seeing the classified series? When do you start noticing like mythically? When do you start noticing like the evolved action figure, especially like the 1/6 or the 1/12 scale?
uh, I've been I've been aware of it, so I was not actively collecting
Okay.
when Classified come out. If I saw something somewhere, whatever it was, a line, a toy, I would pick it up. Stuff like I have just random shit. Like you remember they come out with an Optimus Prime that was a Dodge SRT pickup. Do you
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I bought that because I thought Optimus Prime turning into a Dodge supercharged Dodge pickup was awesome. Little things like that would catch my eye. But
Okay.
when Classified come out, I was not actively buying. I had no room like this, nothing like that. And I remember seeing the email or I saw it on Facebook or something. And this actually popped up in my memories whenever it was, March, I guess, that they were coming out with that double O Snake Eyes that kicked off the
Yeah.
classified line. And I actually sent it to Pop Blender and it showed up in my memories and was like, "You have memories with Pop Blender today." And I was like, "Holy shit, look, they're coming back out with G.I. Joe." And he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, that's badass." I didn't really think anything else about it because at the time I really wasn't where I could get back into it. And then I saw that it was a 6-inch figure.
Yeah.
And it's like, 6-inch figure? Like, it ain't G.I. Joe. G.I. Joes are not 6-inch figures. And that was kind of the end of it. I would
Yeah.
always peruse the toy aisles when I was at Walmart or Target or wherever just to see what was on the shelf. And I began seeing the classified figures. And as cool as they looked, those early ones were the ones where they went hard on updating the designs to, like modern, but still a
Yeah.
little futuristic, the
Yeah.
Duke and the Roadblock, those early ones. And especially that Cobra Commander, because Cobra Commander is my favorite character. And I saw the Cobra Commander and I almost bought it on several occasions, but I didn't just because I could not get over that 6-inch figure hump.
Okay.
So I never bought any. Meanwhile, my cousin has started picking them up and he starts texting me pictures of them. And he was like, "You've got to get some of these figures." And it's like the detail, the accessories, like everything. Like it's the figures that we had as a kid. It's what we wish those figures could be. And I was like, "Man, they're like $20." I was like, "They're like
Yeah.
24 dollars." Like I can't be buying $24 action figures. Uh, um, so Um, so I never picked any of them up. And at the time, I'm kind of keeping up with the line a little bit, but I'm also
Okay.
noticing some of the other things that are out. And I see stuff is making this big push to 1/12 scale. Like everything is going to 1/12 scale. There
It
are
sure is.
no 3 3/4 stuff anymore, other
Yeah, it's
than
very true.
um, like third party, independent stuff. And
Yeah,
those
yeah.
folks are doing stuff, but none of your big stuff is that size. So I go over to his house for family functions or whatever, and he was like, "Dude, I got to show you these figures." And he's laying out like all the Cobra Island figures and other random ones that he picked up. And I'm like, "Oh, they look so good, man." The scale is growing on me, but they just don't
Yeah.
look. They don't look like the ones we had as kids, but they
Yeah.
do look good. So that went on. That went on for a little while. Well, then the HasLab Hiss comes out, or the campaign for it comes out,
Yeah, yeah.
and he's all on the phone. He's texting me. He's like, "Have you seen this thing? You got to look at it." He's like, it's a HasLab." Like, what the fuck is a HasLab? I know what Hasbro is. What is
Yeah,
a HasLab? And he's trying to explain the crowdfunding, the way they're doing it, and I just don't get it because I hadn't been
yeah.
paying attention to that far into the sphere of collecting stuff. And he's like, "Oh, you got to get this." It's like, this thing's 300 damn dollars, dude. Like that, that's a chunk of a mortgage payment. That's the,
Facts.
uh, I don't even have a figure that's this scale, and I don't have anything. I was like, now it's sweet, and we're looking at it, and he's showing me the campaign videos for it and everything, and I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, damn, that does look badass. I'd like to have that. But so I didn't back it because I wasn't in the line.
Okay.
And I told him, and he did. He backed it. He waited till the last day and he was like, "You know what? I'm gonna pull the trigger." Well, he backed it. So we're talking about it and talking about it. He's like, okay, look, he's like, you got to get some of these. I'm going to buy you a figure if you don't buy some. Like sooner or later, maybe I'll get one. And I said, all right, look, I said, if they release Scrap Iron, Shipwreck, Copperhead, and shit there, and there's one other one, but those I was like, if they release Mud and Junkyard, that was the
Okay.
other one. I said, if they release any of those four, I'll buy them. And he was like, okay. So time goes a little bit, and I get a text on March 8th last year, and he sends me the link to Pulse, which I'd never been on Hasbro Pulse other than what he showed me when we were looking
Okay.
at stuff. And it's the link for the pre-order for Scrap Iron with that damn drone. And my jaw hit the floor. I was like, okay, well, not only that, but that same wave was Copperhead and
And
Shipwreck.
Shipwreck. Yep.
And I'm like, holy fuck, man. I was like, okay, well, I guess the time has come. So I, I pre ordered those guys. I pre ordered Copperhead and Scrap Iron and Shipwreck. And I was like, I got to looking and I went back and looked at some of the figures that had been released. And mind you, the past like Christmas and his birthday, I got him classified figures for those two events. I got him. I got him Sergeant Slaughter and Bat and Alley Viper when they come out,
Oh, right on.
and
Okay.
that Bat, like he was
Oh,
showing it
yeah.
to me when he got it, and I'm like, oh man. So that night, I ordered the Bat off of Amazon,
Okay.
and that was the first figure that I got in my hand in classified, and I
Wow.
fell in love with the line that I've always really liked the Bat. The Bat's been one of my favorite character figures, you know. So that night I ordered a Bat on Amazon, got it like the next day. That weekend I went to Target, and the girl that I was seeing at the time is also a GI Joe fan. And we
Okay.
had been off and on for years, and that was during an own period. And we go, they've got the Tiger Force, they've got the Python Patrol. And I'm like, I had enough money to buy like three figures. And
Okay.
she's like, well, which ones are you going to get? And I said, I don't know. I have not had this feeling in 35 years
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to decide which one I'm going to get because I've got a set amount of money I can spend.
Yeah.
So
For real.
I picked out whatever I picked out. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get these. And she goes, well, I'm going to get you the other ones. I'm
Oh,
like,
that's nice of her.
oh, okay. Like, you sure? Yep. So that night I went home and had the Duke and the Ram cycle and like four
Uh,
figures. And we got
yeah.
them open and we're playing with them. And it just spiraled from there. That's
Real
what
quick.
happens when I get into something. Like, I jump in with both feet. And
Yeah.
that's part of why I resisted it for so long. But
Yeah.
that turned into like Pokemon. I gotta fucking catch them all, you
No.
know. Uh,
Yeah.
so I decided I wanted to get the first 100 figures, and
Okay.
I worked on trying to get the first 100 figures, and this line's been out for 2.5 years at this point.
Yeah. It was out for a while at that point. Yeah.
I had to go back and buy a lot of these figures on the secondary market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's kind of what I had to do. Because I was big in the Marvel Legends at the time, and what was happening was you kind of hit a lull where it's just like the same figure painted differently, and
yeah,
there's so many variants of the same superhero you can have.
yeah,
So I'm getting bored with it, and in terms of the collecting side of things, but I'm still into the photography. And one afternoon, I'm noticing that I have all of these superheroes, but I have no like bad guys for them to like fight, like mercenaries or
mhm,
thugs. So I say, let me just see if I can find a couple mercenaries. So I go to Walmart, and they had Gung Ho. He was on the shelf. So like, all right, let's grab Gung Ho. This guy looks kind of like he's got the marine thing on his chest.
mhm,
He could pass for a mercenary, right? So I pull him off.
yeah,
I take him a shot. I take him home. Get him out of the box. I start shooting. I think I had him fighting Captain America, somebody. Anyway, about an hour into shooting, I'm realizing that I'm not really shooting this figure so much as admiring it. Like I'm
Yeah.
just looking, I'm like, that fucking figure's pretty cool. The hat comes off, he comes with all these cool guns. I was like, the detail's pretty sick. And so I started shooting with just him. I set him up, and I'll never forget the shot. It was him holding a gun, and it was just the way he was holding it, the way I had the lights hitting him. I just like took a step back and looked at that fucking picture, and I'm like, God damn, I think this is gonna be the new line that
Yeah.
I start collecting. I immediately went right online. I started to see who was available at that point, which I think at that point it was like just Duke, that Scarlet, and I think Snake Eyes, a couple other guys like you said. And I was like, all right, I think I can catch up. I could play catch up right now because that was the one thing because it was going to either be GI Joe or it was going to be WWE figures. I didn't know which line I was going to jump off of. But once I started to see the WWE figures and the ones that I wanted were just either too impossible to get because it was just they don't make that certain guy anymore,
Yeah.
or it was just I didn't feel like backtracking to get all the guys from my era. Where it was GI Joe was right there, it was fresh. It was they were just starting to release them, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna start collecting these. And then before I knew it, it's just every time a wave would come out, I would immediately jump on it, pre-order.
Yeah.
That was when I started to discover the army building aspect of things because I never was really into that either. I just thought you just get one figure, you're good.
Yep. Same.
Yeah, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute. For photography purposes, it would be cool to see multiple soldiers fighting the Joes. And
Yep.
that's when that dawned on me. And the first one I army built was the Bat because that was my favorite bad guy soldier from GI Joe. Even like when the cartoon, I just loved the fact that they made robots. I just for some reason I'm a big robot guy. I love robot. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. Like on Star Wars, I love all the droids and stuff. So it was just cool to me that GI Joe had their own version of droids, like a droid army.
Yeah.
So I was
And
just all in on it.
in that world, like it's plausible,
Yeah, yeah,
in the Joe verse, like, an army of androids it's not that far fetched compared to other stuff. So yeah.
yeah. Are you into photography at all? I noticed you started kind of dabbling in it a little bit. Do you want to jump more into it?
Yeah, I am. It's something I really enjoy doing. I do pictures. My Instagram is where I post most of my pictures, and
Yeah.
I'm a novice at it.
Yeah.
I've always taken good pictures
Okay.
over my life, but I've
Yeah.
never learned how to take
Okay.
pictures. I've
So
ne-
you got an eye. You got a
uh,
photographer's eye.
yeah, I mean, probably not as much as a lot of other people, but I like to think so. I like to try to
Yeah.
frame
It's
the
yeah.
shots, and
Yeah.
but
That's usually how it takes. As long as you want to get a good framed shot, clear shot, you know what the focal point is in your image. You got a
mhm,
photographer's eye. So I think you
yeah,
pretty much are there.
and so I started doing it. I'm doing it on my phone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've got a phone with a really good camera. But
Yeah.
when I started doing it, I was just doing it, and I didn't I didn't know any of the tricks.
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about like post processing and touching up images. I didn't want to do that. I wanted
Yeah.
everything that I did to be natural and
Yeah.
look right. Unfortunately, sometimes it looks really washed out, especially if you're doing it outside.
Yeah,
That
I
way.
noticed that natural lighting is as much as people like it sometimes for like if you're filming something because like natural light can be a good source. When it comes to photography, it's volatile.
Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't. You don't get the same effect you kind of saw in your head when you're outside. I've
Yeah.
had the same problem while shooting outside.
Yeah.
That's why I tend to just kind of like honestly, I would rather just kind of light it the best I can, and at least this way I'll know I'll get the desired effect or close to it because I'm
Yes.
controlling the light.
Yeah, you can add light, you can take light away, you can change it, you can turn it this way, you can turn it that way. Um, and I've started kind of getting into it. Some of the better pictures that I took in the early part when I was doing it are all done. They're I was using my phone. They're all natural. I actually want to go back and take some of those pictures and kind of enhance them and touch them up,
Yeah.
because I've got a few that I took that, in my opinion, are really good. You take 20 pictures, you might get two good ones.
Oh,
So,
that's a fact. That's a fact.
so I've got. several that I want to go back and touch up.
Yeah.
And then along that way during last year, because this is something I never considered doing. I was just buying toys, and
Yeah.
somebody told me, it was like, all right, look, use portrait mode on your phone.
That's always a smart move.
Portrait way is the way to go for most things.
Mhm.
Um, Especially if you're trying to get up close and blur the back, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
and start playing with some of your settings and stuff, and just experiment. So I did, and I'm like, damn, I can turn some of these into some really good stuff. So I started doing it that way. But what got me into it was I've got a camper, and I've got a little bit of property that I keep it on,
Oh,
and
nice.
I go down there and get away from everything, relax. Got a creek on it. It's just my peaceful place.
Hell yeah.
Go, it's not quite a disconnect, but it's more than being here. It's
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
it's relaxing. Um, go walk in the creek or whatever. So I went down there last year and I took a bunch of figures and I
Nice.
started setting them up and started doing outside shots with them. I'm like, most of these are trash, but there's some really good ones in here. And I enjoy this, like taking
Hell
them
yeah.
out.
Hell
And
yeah.
so I started doing that. Every time I go down there, I usually take a couple at least with me, try to do some shots. And I have some of those that I want to go back and kind of retouch.
Dress up. Yeah.
That was where my my wanting to do the photography started, was just taking some figures down to my camper and setting them up around the camper.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
the land that it's on was part of an old family farm,
Okay.
and my grandfather used it as kind of a dumping ground for broken implements.
Okay.
So I have all kind of shit sitting down there in the woods and in the weeds that's like rusty pull behind mule mowers
Okay.
and
Yeah.
plows, sprockets that are this big around that have been setting out in the weather for 50, 60 years.
Jeez, god damn, that's sick.
I have a stack of angle iron that's probably that
That's sick.
thick piled up. It's a perfect like industrial ruin complex.
Yeah.
I've done
Yeah,
a
hell
couple
yeah.
that way. So as that kind of evolved and I started learning more about it, I bought a camera. And
Okay.
and you know well as I do how expensive cameras are. So I started doing research and trying to figure out what the best beginner digital camera was, because you get way better pictures because you got a bigger sensor. You're not using a
Yeah.
phone to compensate for everything. It's there. So
Yeah.
one camera kept coming to the top of that list, and I hunted one down. I found one on Facebook Marketplace available for shipping, and lo and behold, it was in my town.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
uh, it was on there listed to ship to somebody. No local pickup, but I sent a message, and they were like 10 minutes from my house. There's only like 7,000 people in the little town that I live in. So, and I noticed it had been on there for 2 or 3 weeks. So, sent a message. I'm like, hey, I'm local. I can pick this up. Here's
Okay.
my offer. Will you take it? They took it. So went and bought it and had a decent, older but good digital camera to start playing
Gotta
with.
start somewhere. Yeah, you gotta
A-
start somewhere.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into doing that. I don't get to do as much of it as I would like,
Yeah.
but I love doing it. And that's also where I got into trying my hand at building some diorama pieces, some scenes. And
Yeah.
I'm not an artistic person. Like, it's up here, but I can't get it from here to what I want. And
Oh,
I'm talking carving. I bought hot knives to carve styrofoam, painting. I don't know anything about painting, so I bought a bunch of acrylic and some shitty brushes and sit down and just start working on stuff till I get what I want,
Yeah,
and
you get the hang of it, yeah. So
and
now,
don't all
what
come
have
out
you
right.
what have you built? Like, so far, you got the tools, you got a phone. What have you built? I saw the cage, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yep.
Is there anything else, or is the cage the only thing you've built so far?
No, not really, and they're most of them are small. Over here,
Okay.
you can't see it very well. The thing that these guys are sitting on
Okay, yeah.
was my first attempt, and it is just it's a background piece that I
Okay.
actually carved, and it looks like giant bricks. But
Okay.
I actually took and I put bullet holes in it and
Nice.
stuff, and then it has a base that I carved that looks like stone. Which everybody, I posted pictures and said, what do people think? This is my first one. Everybody said looks good for first try, but you need to put a wash on the bottom of it because
Yeah.
it doesn't look weathered enough, which
Yeah.
I still haven't done. But so that was the first one I built, and the back of it, the base of it, and the back of it, I pushed dowel rods into it, and
Okay, smart move.
and it attaches. That way, if I ever want to do a different back piece for the
Yeah.
background, I can pull it off and make
Do
another
that,
one.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then I did over here. You can kind of see it. It's like a winter piece because I wanted something for snow job.
Okay.
It's in like three pieces, but I've got snow job and two Arctic bats and a snow serpent on it, and it's
All right
good
on.
for get in close, and it's like they're standing behind a snowy mountain or something.
Down there. Okay,
Um,
right on.
I did mm, down there. Can't see it very well. I can show it to you later or whenever.
Yeah.
I did a cave.
Okay.
I built a cave, carving it with this hot knife and hot wire, and carved like I wanted something to kind of look like a Hoth cave, but then I wound up
Yeah.
painting it like stone,
Okay.
and it didn't turn out like I wanted, but everybody that seen it said it looks okay.
Yeah, yeah.
The back of it, I put a like a L shape in the back so I could stand figures on the top of it, like they're up on
That's a smart
top of
move.
the cave.
Yeah.
I put a hole in it so I can stick a light in it. I've got
Nice.
one of those blue like party lights that you
Yeah.
twist that I stick in there, and the cave lights up blue.
Oh, right on, dude.
And then I
So
built
you
a tunnel rat diorama.
Oh, hell, so it's also getting the creative juices flowing, you'd say.
Going back into getting into classified has awoken stuff in me that I didn't know was there.
So you
Uh,
never really knew that you were gonna be, like, this creative, essentially.
no
This
idea.
kinda happened because of the figures.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had good ideas. I've always been creative. I just hadn't really had an outlet for it, and I never learned. It's skills that I never picked up. So now that
Yeah.
I find myself wanting to do more of it, I'm having to kind of learn it as I go. And I
Oh, yeah.
watch people like Random Diorama,
Yeah.
Eldor, people that Savage Land stuff that people that build this stuff to try to get
Mhm.
an idea of the process. Crusty Old Crow, people, Toy Enhancer, people that build this stuff,
Mhm.
and like I'm in awe. Like, how do you even know how to do this?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
That's what
it's
happened with me
fun.
was, what happened with me was I wanted to I said this to I think it was Crow. I don't remember when I was a kid, I don't remember the toys so much as the commercials, the sets that the kids were playing on in the
Yeah,
commercial.
yeah,
That's what I remember. So when I discovered diorama building, I didn't need like you, it wasn't even a thought in my head to build a set for action figures for photography. I stumbled upon photography, and what I would do is I would just put a solid, like I would go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I'd buy the colored poster boards,
yeah.
and I would just put different colors behind them. I'd light it a certain way, and then I'd shoot it that way. I thought
That's
it
what
looked good.
it's what I started doing too. I
Yeah,
got a whole
I
bunch
thought it
of
looked
it over
good.
here.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, nice little solid light blue color behind them, kind of look like a comic book panel, and essentially,
Mhm.
right? And then I just discover Dio Structure was the name of the Facebook. Okay, and it's all just diorama builders. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I
Yeah.
started I would go down a rabbit hole all day, just watching all these guys and looking at all these pictures. And I'm like, I didn't know you could do all this. And I used to be in a cosplay, like big in a cosplay,
Okay.
like 10, 12 years ago. So I'm knowledgeable with foam, wire cutters, foam, uh, wood
Shapers.
burning tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that shit. So I'm like, all right, well, it seems like it's essentially the same thing. You're just building a building. It's like building a set instead of the costume. If you look at it from like a film production thing.
Mhm.
So I'm like, all right, well, let me try my hand at this. So I did the same thing. It was a cave. It was the first thing I made, and I based it off a cave that is actually in my area.
Uh-huh.
There's an area about an hour and a half from me called the Doverstone Church. It's I forgot the Native American tribe that stayed up there, but that was like their last stand before they were massacred by another Indian tribe. They like
Okay.
set there was like a whole thing, there's a whole history behind it. So when I go up there and see it, it was just this the way the light comes through and you see like this beam of light.
Oh,
It literally looked like a picture. You know, like a picture
yeah.
you'd see on a wall somewhere. It's like a when you know when you go to the stores and the Samsung TVs are just trying to show you how clear the image is, and they
Yeah.
show like caves and stuff.
Yeah, one of
That
those.
that's what it looked like in person. I was like, "Holy shit, this looks awesome!" So I just kind of based my cave off a couple pictures that I had taken because that's when I first got into photography. It was like landscape photography. Like I would take pictures of a cave or the mountain range over here in Hudson Valley and stuff like that. So I was just like, man, I didn't know toys. This was an option because I want to play with the toys, but I feel like as an adult, people are gonna be like, "Well, you playing with toys?" So I needed like an excuse.
Yeah.
I say that lightly. So like my
Yeah.
excuse now is I could take pictures with them. And now on top of that, I can't do cosplay anymore because I'm really not into costumes anymore. So now I have something that I can get back into crafting again.
Yeah.
So I just it was like it snowballed. It was a
Yep.
cave, then it was a building, then it was another it was a bat cave. I started making a bat cave. And then that got too big because I had nowhere to put it. I had
Yeah.
like 7 walls, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And everything, the turnstile for the bat, the
Yeah.
Batmobile. I had no Batmobile, but I had the turnstile,
Right.
and it made no sense. So I was just like, "Okay," but it's addictive. I noticed, like
Yeah.
when you start building things and it starts to come out kind of how you wanted it. You're like, "Ooh, I like this." And
Yeah.
painting, I'll tell you right now, man, if you continue down the diorama road, painting is just repetition. Like
Yeah.
the more you paint, the easier it becomes. Like you just learn little tricks of the trade and you just start to apply them. And it just like anything, it's just repetition. Same thing with dioramas too. A lot of people sometimes, like I noticed watching people's and I'm guilty of it too. Like when people make bricks, it's real hard to keep that pencil straight.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times people kind of go on an angle and fuck up the thing. Whereas like then you have to add battle damage and shit like that to cover up your mistakes. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like an art form. So you gotta it's repetition, man. It's trial and error. I remember asking one guy, like, what do you do when you mess up? Do you add battle damage? And he literally said, no, you throw the piece out and start over again.
Oh,
And I
hell
was just
no.
like, yeah, I was like, jeez. I was like, that's a level of like attention to detail that I just to me it's like, all right, I guess this is battle damage now. That's my first. You fuck up, battle damage. It's a crack. The building is old.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, I mean, that's a creative way to cover the mistake. Like I'm pretty I don't know, not I say I'm OCD, but everybody says they're OCD nowadays. So not
Yeah,
everything I've been diagnosed with, but I like detail. I like things to come out right. I plan everything out. So
yeah,
I start getting frustrated when it doesn't go like it is in my head.
yeah.
But the way it is in my head and the ability I have to translate it, I have to realize that those aren't on par with each other,
Yeah, you
So
just have. I
got to
used to
work
feel the
with what
same
I
way.
got.
Yeah, I used to feel the same way where I was kind of like my hands aren't where my mind is.
Yeah.
My mind sees something, but my hands aren't giving me what I see in my head.
Yep.
So my hands and my head got to get on the same page. And it happened a lot with costumes. Like I made 2 bat suits from I based them off the Arkham Origins game. So I
Oh,
made the exact bat suit from that. The first one I kind of winged, but the second one I wanted it to be so true to the game. I wanted every little detail that was on that suit from the game to be in on this suit. So every little attention to detail. If I messed up, I started again. If I
Yeah,
messed up, I started again. I just kind of told myself, you're not fucking up. You just learned how to do it better. You
yeah,
just learned how to do it better. And then eventually it just wasn't, it wasn't annoying. It wasn't, fuck, why do I keep fucking it? It was more like, all right, just let's try it again. And it got to a point where it looked exactly like the movie. And I was very proud of it.
yes,
And, but that's when I came, like when it came to making dioramas, I was like, don't do that. Don't bring yourself to that kind of level where you're going to just start all over again. You're going to start all over again because next thing you're gonna look around, you're gonna have pieces of foam everywhere. I was like,
yeah,
you don't need all these fucking all this XPS foam everywhere.
yeah,
So that's another thing too. I started to use EVA foam because that's what used to cosplay because it's just easier to work with. It's more it keeps its rigidity, so it stays kind of stiff when you set it up, but it also has a lot of give because it's soft foam. It's not that
yeah,
rigid foam like XPS foam. So that's why I use EVA foam because if it falls and breaks, that's another thing I noticed with those XPS diodes that a figure falls on it or something really hits it or falls, it cracks. Now you got a big piece, a big pink piece exposed or light green, wherever way you get it from. Whereas with EVA foam, if you just buy black EVA foam, and even if it falls, you might get a chip in the paint or a crack in the paint. But
yeah,
if you hit it with a heat gun, the crack goes away.
yeah. You can fix that and repaint it.
Re- Exactly, fix it right up. So I mean, that's just a trick of the trade, I guess. But like I said, but it comes with just learning. You just keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Well, I tell you,
Eventually,
everything that I've made has been made out
yeah.
of styrofoam.
Okay, right on. So you like recycling shit? Like I'm the same way.
No, I find it and I bring it home.
Oh, okay. Because what I'll do is I'll take like for instance, I got we get a TV, the
Oh yeah,
styrofoam
yeah. Big
like
long pieces. Yeah,
yeah. So I took it out, and the first thing I thought of was, at least in this particular TV one, it looked like the front of the Joe base that they always show in the cartoons.
yeah,
It had like this
yeah.
weird
You
like
see that?
so I Yeah, so I saved it and it's still in my garage. So I'm going to try to put it together. But it's so big because it's one of those big TVs where
Yeah,
it's taking up a lot of space. So it's like kind of like, um, do you keep it to make the GI Joe base? And once the GI Joe base is made, where do you put a diorama of that size? That's to me one of the big negatives of toy collecting is the
yeah,
lack of space that becomes a problem. So
yeah,
that brings me to my next question for you. What is the negatives of toy collecting to you? Is it because a lot of people so far have been on this show that have said different things. Some people say it's space. Some people say it's certain people in the community. It's just certain things that go on. Or some people say it's the financial aspect of it becomes too much.
yeah.
What would you say about it?
I would probably echo that. All of those. Right now, right now for me, it is space and it
Yeah,
is also financial because I've got a set amount that I have been able to use to build my collection up, and now
yeah,
it's getting to the point where I need to kind of slow down a little bit. Um,
yeah,
so space is an issue. I've already brought in these set of shelves for non-Joe stuff that I've gotten into. My legions and just random NECAs and stuff like that over there.
yeah,
Um, so it's space, and then yes, there's people in the community that make it not want to be a community, and it's damn sure not a fellowship. I'm not
yeah.
going to name names. Everybody knows what's been going
Everybody
on
knows. Yeah, yeah,
with a couple of people specifically, um, and that casts a negative light over the whole hobby. I think,
yeah, yeah,
there's people that can tune it out, people that can't, people that are friends with people that are sucked directly into it. But I
yeah,
feel like that shit sends a ripple over the whole community, whether you want to be in it or involved in it or not. Either way, it somehow affects the entire community when there's people that are out there they're fucking it up for everybody.
yeah. There's always
Uh,
one guy that's got to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, so I would say all three of those.
Just like that.
The only other negative that I can think of, and depending on how bad it gets to you or bothers you is there's still a stigma about toy collecting.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
such a niche. It seems like because we know each other, we know other people, we know the people we don't. But just look at YouTube. It's probably 1% of YouTube,
yeah, for
and
real.
when you look at the population, like, you still get, you go down the toy aisle, you still get a stink eye from people. It's
Facts.
amazing. I see
Man,
it
I
all the time.
yeah, I agree, and that's a lot of the times why people don't collect because they don't want to have that stink eye.
Yep.
You just like I think because it happened to me. That's one of the reasons why I stopped collecting. 'Cause I thought you had to. I thought like, oh no, you get to a certain age, you can't have
Yep.
toys no more.
Yep.
You're a man now,
Hmm.
And then like I hit an age where, and I'll tell everybody, it was like 2015, 2016, where I saw the X Men, the Marvel Legends X Men Juggernaut Build a Figure
Yeah.
wave, where it had Wolverine, Rogue, Mister Sinister, and Saber. I was like,
Yeah.
this is what they fucking look like now. I'm like, I can't believe toys look like this now. And then my buddy was collecting them. He said, yeah, man, they're getting good. And that was it. Off to the races I went. I didn't even look. I didn't even. I was like, I want Marvel Legends. I have to have these figures. These figures are amazing.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Going into like modern stuff, like
Yeah.
getting getting back into classified. So
Yeah.
this shelf over here, I had to bring in another shelf for stuff that I like now that I maybe was vaguely aware of was
Yeah.
out there, but I wasn't following it, or stuff that I had no idea was out there, and I've discovered it through being in the community, the fellowship,
Yeah.
the toy verse, and have kind of tried to broaden horizons. And it's like, well, there's so much cool stuff out here. I can still be a diehard GI Joe fan, but I can certainly like and appreciate other stuff too.
For sure. Yeah.
And
Now,
the
is that how you
gaps,
discovered? Is that how you discovered Mythic Legions?
I was vaguely aware of Mythic Legions. Of
Okay.
course, I knew who the Four Horsemen were. Also,
Yeah.
talking about photography and stuff, I go way back as far as seeing that stuff like Toy Fair. I mean, I
Okay.
Toy Fair magazine. I had a
Yeah.
subscription. I had the first 2 or 4 issues before it went monthly. So you'd see the stuff back then. So as far as now, as I started seeing all these other channels and seeing people that were into things that weren't just GI Joe, I'm like, well, I've heard of that, but back to Toy Fair, of course, I knew who Four Horsemen were because they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
they were around back then. They did that awesome Motu line that you couldn't
Mhm.
find
Yeah.
anywhere. Um, Man, that was funny thinking about that because one of the only places that ever got them damn things was KB Toys, and
Yeah.
they're long gone. But
Oh, yeah.
KB got those Motus, so I knew what meat legions were, but it wasn't really the type of thing that I was big into. So I
Okay.
didn't follow it. But as I start seeing all these other people and these other channels, I'm like, well, I need to look a little more into that line because the ones I've
Yeah.
seen, they look cool. So I went back and started researching that line and seeing some of what they put out and been like, well, the fantasy stuff is not really, it's not really my thing, but it's not my thing. I like
Yeah.
it. So it's like I might have to get a few of these figures. And I was on uh probably listening to Oz's Clubhouse one
Okay.
Saturday and mentioned that I wanted to start picking up some legions, but there's no way I could try to, be a completionist or anything with that
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
And somebody told me, I think it was Wraith Mace, that said, if you're going to do legions and you're starting out, pick a lane. If you like goblins, get the goblins. If you like
That's actually
skeletons,
smart.
orcs, um, stick to that. Well, I
Yeah.
happen I happen to love skeletons. I'm a pretty morbid type of person. Fucking love horror movies. It's my favorite genre. So I saw some of the skeletons that they were doing, I
Yeah.
was like, well, I know where my lane is, so that's where the skelf come from
From
up
that's
here
hell yeah.
is skeletons.
So is that all the mythic legions you have is just skeletons, or did you just kind of pick up some ones that kind of stuck out to you?
No, the only ones that I have so far are they
Skeleton.
are all skeleton guys. Now,
Oh,
there's a couple that I want actually not completely. I do have Swig, the little troll
okay.
dude.
The troll. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that looks like I don't know what, Legions likes to pay tributes to stuff, and I don't know if
yeah.
there's a story for Swig, but what I see when I look at Swig is that little fucking troll from Cat's Eye with the daggers that comes
Okay.
out of the wall and goes shit. That's what I see when I look at him. There are other ones that I want to get. There's a couple in this new line that's coming out.
Yeah, I saw
That's
those. Yeah.
yeah up for pre-order now. I'm mainly gonna try to stick to skeletons, but that
Okay.
don't mean I won't get a few others. I cannot wait for that Necronominus line because they're all skeletons. One of the figures is
Yeah.
literally death.
I have been pre-ordered. Yeah, I have been
Maxilius
pre-ordered.
the Harvester. I
Yeah.
I cannot
Yeah.
wait to get them. They actually just showed some test shots of him on their Instagram
I'm
yesterday.
excited. Yeah, I'm excited for certain ones. My big issue with Mythic Legions is their lack of articulation. I've been saying that
Yeah.
for a very long time. I love because I exactly what you said. Wraith Mace was that's a perfect assessment of Mythic Legions. Just pick a lane
Yeah.
and stick to it because that's what I did. I stuck to orcs
Yep.
because at the time I didn't know about 5K toys and all those like
Hmm.
third party like basically World of Warcraft orcs. I had no idea about that. So I'm just the only orcs I see are Mythic Legions, and I do like the detail on them. So I said, "God, fuck, let me pull the trigger." I had a little extra cash, so I bought three of them because like I wanted an orc army. So I wanted to
Yeah.
start building my orc army. So I said, "All right, I'll get." They had one guy who had like an actual cloth, like loin cloth made of fur, and the other two it was plastic. So I was like, "All right, no, they were a little cheaper, so no big
Yeah.
deal." So again, they come to the house, and I realized that as big as they are and as cool as they look, don't get me wrong, the paint, the details there, the lack of articulation, in order to get them in certain poses, it was almost impossible to get them how I needed them.
Yeah.
So it's just like you're bogged down by the level, the limit here of articulation. So you can only do so much. And I was just like, man, these toys, they could be the king. Like they
Yeah.
could literally beat everybody in terms of detail. And if they had the right articulation, and I'm not talking go crazy with articulation, just a couple extra pieces just need to move.
Yeah.
And that line to me, and I noticed, I don't know if you saw the Articulated Ninja just posted a video basically torching them about the articulation
I
on
have
their
not
figures.
watched it. I saw it. I saw it
Oh,
come up in my feed, but I
yeah.
haven't been able to watch it yet.
Yeah. And I commented on it. I said, I just want you to know, for the record, I've been trashing their articulation for a very long time.
Yeah.
So that was all I needed to tell you. And he laughed. But I'm just like, because like I said, big swords and sorcery guy.
Yeah.
Those pair really because when the Masterverse line came out, I know a lot of guys collect the retro He-Man figures,
Mhm.
but I'm a big Masterverse guy.
Oh
I
yeah.
love because they kind of scale with the 112 and whatever. Even
A little
the
bigger, but
DC, yeah, the DC multiverse, they can scale well to it. But I
speaking
just
of
was
speaking of that, I just found him. I looked everywhere for this dude and found him
that
on the
Scareglow.
shelf at Target.
Oh hell yeah, Scareglow
Uh,
was one of my favorite Masterverse figures.
I got to get
I
him.
love
I've
that
got to
figure.
get him out, but I just
Yeah.
found him last
Yeah.
weekend.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome, dude. One of my favorites. But I said I think Mythic Legions could pair well. I would love to see He-Man fighting an Orc army, or like
Yeah.
with Man at Arms and stuff like that. But when the Orcs came, it's just like, man, I can't justify spending $75 on these things, and they don't articulate at all to what how I need.
Yeah.
That's just insanity. The price does not match like the expectation. I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
I kind of stayed away. Like I guess I could count on one hand how many mythic legions I have. I have three orcs. I have one knight. I have one wizard dude who just came out, I think, at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
The bald
Poxus.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Poxus wave. Yeah.
yeah. So I got him, and I got a little dwarf, the dwarf king, in the
Yeah.
black and gold armor.
Yeah.
So that was my first mythic legions, and I was like, if they articulate that, I don't think I'm gonna buy any more of these. And then I kind of like the orcs, so I gave them the benefit of the doubt a second time. And then I gave them the benefit of the doubt a third and fourth time with the knight and the wizard. And by the wizard, I'm just like, man, I like these figures. I really do. But I just, the only one that, like, now when I look at that page or whatever, like the website, the only one who stands out to me is the one who looks like death. Because at
Yeah.
least I can now have a prominent death figure in any of my photography setups. I
Yes.
have a great guy to play death now. So
Yep.
that'd be
Uh,
my only next purchase when it comes to them.
yeah, that's but that's kind of the trade-off because the paint's
Yeah,
top notch. The
it is. It is.
sculpting not really going to beat the sculpting and the paint, and it's kind of the trade-off for it is.
Yeah,
And I like a lot more articulation. I would like them to be a lot more articulated,
yeah,
but I I don't do as much photography as you do,
yeah,
setting up stuff like that. And to me, they're going to be on the shelf. I'm going to take them down. I'm going to play with them a little bit,
yeah,
and I will do some photography with them, at some point. But for me, just having the something that's that well sculpted and the awesome paint apps, I don't look at those like something I do Joe's. Like I'm not
yeah.
most of the poses I need legions to get into. I
You can
can
get him
get them
into.
into it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not as big of an issue for me, but I know that's most people's biggest complaint with them is the lack of articulation.
yeah.
Um,
I am gonna bite the bullet. I think at some point this year and get a horse because I'm hearing very good things about their mounts. Like they put a lot of thought into like all of their mounts, like the bear
yeah,
and then the horses and stuff like that. So I definitely want to get a horse.
I'm gonna order the Conibus, the
Okay.
his horse.
Yeah.
That's like half rotted and
Yeah. Yeah. I
shit.
saw that. Yeah.
I do plan on ordering him. I have one. I've got the headless horseman.
They're gonna be at Joe Fest too, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah. So
yeah,
you're definitely gonna be at that booth, aren't you?
yeah. That's me and Aaron the toy enhancer
Yeah.
keep joking about we're gonna be knocking each other out of the way for the Legion's booth.
Yeah.
That is actually Four Horsemen wise. That is what
Yeah.
I enjoy more than Mythics is the
Okay.
figure obscurus.
Yeah.
That's
I was just
right
gonna
up
talk to you
my
about that.
alley.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up. Now you have them all.
Yes. I
Now,
don't
now,
have. There's a couple of the like the retailer and the other like the flip flop variants because they bring out
okay.
the version of the figure and then they release a retail version which is basically a repaint. It's just a
Yeah.
redeco. But I've got one of all of them so far.
Out of all of them, which one is your favorite?
Oh man, that's a tough question. That's a really tough question because
Because I'm a real big fan of that headless horseman.
when I say these figures are up my alley, man, I'm big into history and lore.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, I'm big into shit like Poe. I've
Yeah.
read the original Sleepy Hollow. I gotta look at them, man. Because I really want to say Red Death, but
Okay. Yeah, that one's cool.
like I did a big ass long video on Red Death because I'm a big Poe fan and I'm also an enormous Phantom of the Opera fan,
Oh, right on.
and that was based on the Red Death story a little
Okay.
bit. So, but the figure is kind of plain. It looks great, but it's kind of plain. If I if I had to honestly say, I would want it to be Red Death or the Headless Horseman, but it's probably Sun Wukong,
Oh, right on,
the
dude.
Monkey King,
Yeah,
and
that one
and
is
that
sick.
and that is the figure or the legend, the lore that I knew the least about out of every
Yeah,
single one of them that's come out. But that figure, man, is just gorgeous. They
yeah,
all
that,
come with tons of accessories.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
You got the new ones too, right? The Nubis and Bastet.
yeah, they got them right
You got
here.
those too.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
Anubis is a better figure. Bastet has one point of articulation that I don't like, and that's her waist articulation.
Okay.
It's a little bit too loose. It's not problematic, but it's too loose for my
Mm,
liking. She
okay.
has a skirt, and then she has a plastic cloth skirt and a plastic skirt piece that fits over it, and then you pop her together with her waist joint.
Oh
I
wow.
like it without the plastic waist, like bejeweled piece, and just the skirt, but
Okay.
it's made to have the resistance from all of those pieces between it. So
Yeah,
she's
to
a
keep it
little
together.
a little loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that is a great set. And I know a lot of people looked at it and was like, it's $120 and you can't buy them separately. And they probably did that because Anubis would have been way more popular.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but when you break it down, $60 a piece for everything those figures come with, and how look good they look, how well made and sculpted they are, is a steal, honestly,
Yeah.
for those.
Now I'm glad you brought up the price of those figures because that brings me to my next question for you. Some people have spent upwards of $1,200. Some people have spent $500. What is the most you've ever spent on an action figure? Like you've seen it at whether it be at a toy show, the store, whatever it is online. You're like, I have to have it. I don't care what it costs.
Of anything, of any line.
Any line, anything. The most you spent.
Not not really too not really too exorbitant, I don't think, because I really haven't gone back and bought much in the way of classic stuff.
Okay.
Um, Probably, I gotta think about it. Probably the 3-0 Storm Shadow that I've
Oh,
got,
wow.
the 1/6.
Yeah.
He's right there.
All right.
Um, which is, it wasn't a lot. I think I got him for like $130.
That's not bad at all.
So some of the obscuras are, I've given a little more for some of those than I normally would a figure because
Right.
they were already released. I got lucky when I got my headless horseman because I bought him loose, complete with the box. I don't like buying previously opened stuff, but
Okay.
I took a shot, and if I had not got that set at that price, that would be the most expensive figure that I would have bought because I have the one with the orange head. I have the first one.
Oh, right on.
So
Okay.
I do like the other one. I do want the one with the green and the glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so
I
not too bad.
there's a local toy shop in my area that has that horseman with the green and the glow in the dark stuff. And every time I walk in there, I just look at him and go, "Fuck, I want that thing so
Yeah.
bad." I
Um
want it just because of the horse. I mean, I like the figure, very much so, but the horse is really what is like. Every time I look at him, I'm like, God, I want that horse.
yeah, the horse is the horse is nice. Um He's got a ton of articulation. He is kind of wonky when you stand him if he doesn't have the articulation just right.
Oh
And
wow.
and I know Oz's sister has that set and her horse
Mhm.
broke,
Oh wow.
but
Okay.
they replaced it.
All
They
right.
did
Okay.
replace it, and she said she hadn't had problems with the new one, but I
Okay.
really want the green one too. I just
Yeah.
haven't found a deal anywhere.
Yeah. I'll tell you this: when you see them at the Joe Fest, their booth is sick. I don't know if it's going to be the same way it was at ZoloCon when I saw them at ZoloCon for the first time, but man, if I had just spent all my money at the Valorverse booth, so about the time I got to the Mythic Legions booth, I just didn't have because I really wanted, like I said, a horse. I wanted a mount. I really didn't care about
Yeah,
the figures, and they had all the mounts there, but I just didn't have the money, man. But and then right
yeah.
next to them, man, I don't know if this is going to be like this at Joe Fest, but right next to that booth was like a customizer booth that had
Mhm.
all these just customizable heads that you could just swap out on
Oh,
those figures. It was so cool, man. So cool.
That's yeah, that's nice. That stuff. It's gonna be dangerous.
Oh yeah,
I'm thinking about leaving my actual credit card in the safe.
yeah, for real, for real.
My debit card, I'll take that, but I'm seriously considering locking my credit card in the safe,
Yeah,
for going down there. But I'm not going down there looking to buy a whole lot, but I know there's stuff that I'm gonna
Oh
be,
yeah,
that
for
I'm
sure.
gonna be
Yeah,
looking to buy.
yeah. Something's gonna catch your eye. It always happens.
Always happens, and I've never been to anything of that scale.
Oh, so this is the
Um,
first for you.
this is my first. Never been to Joe Fest.
Okay.
Probably the biggest actual toy show I've been to was one that's kind of local. It's in
Mm,
Kentucky, and they do
okay.
it twice a year, and it's a fairly large show.
Yeah.
I couldn't pull off Joe Fest last year because it's in June, and
Yeah.
this show is in July. So I'm
Okay.
like, well, we didn't get to go to Joe Fest, so let's go to this one. And
Yeah.
we went to that one and had a good time. But I still, I was still catching up on classified and other stuff that I saw that I liked. That's where I got my Mezco Destro at that show.
Yeah. How do you
Um,
feel about the Mezco figures?
I only have two.
Okay.
I have Destro and I just got the Firefly.
Fly. Okay. Because
So
I like Mezco. I really do, but they boned me a few times.
yeah,
I always tell this story. Like I pre-ordered Conan, and then they just put me on a
yeah,
waiting list, and then basically told me, "Too bad you're not getting them." And
yeah,
I mean, arguing with the guy on the phone. I said, "Tell me, why do I give you $60 for a down payment if you're going to tell me that I still can't get the figure? What's the point of down payment? Can I at least get that back?" And they go, "Well, no, it's non-refundable." I'm not. I don't give a fuck that it's non-refundable because technically you were supposed to give me the figure. Now you're not giving me the figure. That non-refundable bullshit should now be refundable. That's all I was saying. I'm like, that. I was like, your business model is fucked up. So that's all I'm telling you. If you didn't
yeah,
have enough, then say it. But don't fucking tell me now that I'm assed out on whatever the fucking down payment was. I was 40 or 60. Well, I
yeah.
was not happy, man.
Oh, I'd have been livid, yeah, for
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
that. Non-refundable is if I decide I don't want the fucking thing and I cancel it. That's
exactly,
non-refundable. But
exactly. And then
you're holding me a
I got
place.
another whole fucking thing with them because the Justice League 3 pack where it's going to be Flash, Superman, and Batman.
Hmm.
I pre-ordered that too. It was very expensive. It was I think 295, right?
Yeah, be right. Yeah,
Um, they waited and waited and waited and waited to make it. Finally, I didn't have the money. Then all of a sudden, it tells me, "Hey, guess what? We're coming out now." And I'm on the phone with them again. I'm like, you told me it was going to come out on this time when I had the fucking money. Then
yeah,
you canceled. You pushed it back. You pushed it back. You pushed it back. Now all of a sudden, it's ready. I was like, you know what? I don't fucking want it. So I
yeah.
just said, take the money. I don't give a fuck.
Evidently,
And
they're pretty notorious for that.
yeah,
I've never ordered from them directly.
directly.
I'm on
Yeah.
the waiting list for two things.
Okay.
Don't know. I don't know how that works, if that
Yeah.
ever even happens, if you ever
I
actually
the
get it.
waiting list that like I said, the waiting list that I've been on, I've gotten fucked both times. So
Yeah,
I mean, I wish I could tell you something better. I hope you have better luck than I had. Both
yeah,
times they fucked me. Every time I've gotten to Mezco, it's been on eBay or like at a second, like like a con or some shit like that. I found
yeah,
one and that it was like legit Mezco because I have gotten a knockoff one
yeah.
and it literally fell apart in my hands the day I
Oh,
got it. Yeah, so
damn.
I was like, motherfucker. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm on the waiting list for Bartholomew Vex, and I don't even remember what the other one is. And I kind of, at this point, I kind of hope that, I don't get it, but I still
yeah.
want the figure. But, it'd be one of them like, hey, guess what? We called your number. That'll be $140.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
Is when I least expected, they're like, "Hey, guess what? 295 is coming out now."
I got the Destro at that show,
Okay,
and I got him at that show for $80. He retailed
that's
for
not bad.
100, and
Yeah,
now he's on Amazon for like 70, 65. And I've told everybody, like, if you don't have it, get it. If you're a
yeah.
Joe
All right,
fan, it's the
I
best
think I'm gonna get
version
it.
of Destro that's ever been
Oh
made.
wow, really?
Yeah, it's worth every bit of, it was 100 retail. It's worth every penny of
90.
100. So,
Okay.
um,
I know a lot of people are afraid to get that Storm Shadow because of how white his
yeah,
outfit is and shit like that. People don't want to
yeah,
fuck that up.
yeah. And
Yeah,
that one, that's not one. The Storm Shadow and the Snake Eyes, they're not ones that I would buy.
yeah.
Somebody give them to me as a gift or something, I'd be ecstatic. But I'm not a big of a Ninja fan to
Ninja
order
guy. Yeah,
those two. I've got
I was.
plenty of Snake Eyes
Yeah.
and Storm Shadows. I don't need $115 versions of them.
Versions of them. That's a fucking fact. I tell people all the time, G.I. Joe had such a hard on for ninjas.
Man, they did.
So many goddamn ninjas.
That was when I really pulled the plug on it when I was a
Yeah.
kid. Was of course I was getting older, but everything was fucking ninjas.
He's a
And
ninja.
the toys were like they really went down the ridiculous road, and then everything was ninja this and ninja that,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, fuck it, give me,
Uh,
give me some more, give me some more Breaker, give me some more Stalker, some more
oh yeah.
Destro and Scrap Iron and shit. Like I don't want fucking neon accessories that are this big, and
Big, yeah.
so that was my last real American hero figures were 92, and I have two.
Okay.
So
Do you still have anything from your original days of getting toys? Like anything
that
from your childhood and shit like stuff like that?
I have all of my original Joes. I've got 130
Oh
something
wow.
of them.
Nice.
Not much else survived through
Okay.
just getting older and, getting into different lines, or then aging out of toys. But
Yeah.
GI Joe's always been sacred to me, whether I've actively collected every iteration of it or not.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially my real American hero Joes. So I have them. I have some bits and pieces of a few vehicles, and then I have whatever was left of my original Star Wars figures in the Darth Vader case. I probably got 20.
Nice, dude. Also, you took care of your toys, man.
I did. I didn't jack my toys up. Me and Crow and Aaron have talked about shit we used to do to them, and of course we've heard Punk talk about decapitating them in Windows on his Star Wars. But um, my Joes, I probably destroyed more Star Wars toys than I did Joe toys on
Okay.
purpose, which is funny because they're probably worth more now. But
Yeah.
my Joes, I kind of held my Joes up to another level because
Yeah.
I lost accessories, but my cousin and I tell stories about playing in the creek behind my
Yeah.
house when I was a kid. Um, when I would take Joes down there, I would usually leave all their weapons at the house
That was
and
smart.
pretend.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't lose a few here or there, but like if I ever really BB gunned a Joe
Mm,
or lit a Joe on fire, it was a double that I've gotten somewhere
okay.
along the way,
Yeah.
and it wasn't many of them, but you would get a birthday present, and it would be like, the kid's parents obviously is buying it. Well, what's he into? GI Joe. What
Oh
figures
yeah.
does he need? I don't know. Well, that one's cool. Grab it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so whichever figure was worse for the wear was the one that usually got sent to the firing squad.
Uh-huh. Do you still find yourself collecting the old guys? Like if you're at let's say you're at Joe Fest this month and you see some 118 guys that you when you were a kid, are you gonna pick them up, or you just gonna look right over them and go for the 6 inch?
I'm gonna look at them. I don't know. I wouldn't say over them. I would look through them.
Okay.
I'm very weird about my toys, especially my
Okay.
Joes. There would be certain figures that I would be looking for to pick up. So it's funny you mentioned that. When I first started collecting classified and I was
Yeah.
displaying them, if they had a classified counterpart, I was setting the counterpart up beside them because I thought
Got them. Nice.
it was cool having the little
Yeah.
original beside the new one. And one of my favorite figures, because my favorite Joe is slightly more than Roadblock. My favorite Joes are Roadblock and Mutt and Junkyard, and
Okay.
like they're by a quarter of a point, by hair it's Roadblock. Roadblock set up and he fell and broke his fucking foot off.
Oh God.
So um And then after that, I actually displayed the 3 3/4 one with that foot in Fiona's mouth, Crocmaster's croc, you know. So I was at a local shop, comic toy shop that was one I really liked, but it went out of business last year. And
Okay.
they had Joe's, you know, a few retro, and I was digging through them, and they had a complete roadblock that had everything, had the 50 cal, the tripod, backpack, helmet, file card, and it was in good shape. Paint was good, joints were good. I bought that roadblock because I fucked
Hell
mine
yeah.
up.
Hell yeah.
But that roadblock stays in its own sandwich bag beside my other bags of Joe's.
That was it.
Same thing with Hooded Cobra Commander.
Okay.
I wanted a better version of my childhood Hooded Cobra Commander,
Yeah.
and they had one there, and I bought them at the same time. So there are figures that I would replace, but they're still not getting mixed in with my ones from a
With the
kid.
original. Yeah, with your original.
Those are in my will to be buried with me.
Oh, right on, dude.
My original, I've got 3 Ziploc bags of Joe's from when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
They're in my will to go in my casket.
That's good. Hell yeah. Take them with you, brother. Fuck that.
Yeah.
They yours.
I don't have kids, and if I did, they
Yeah.
wouldn't give a fuck about them
Look at
figures.
him. Exactly. Exactly. I have two. I have 5 nephews. 5. Count them. And all 5 do not give a fuck about action figures.
Yeah. Well, that's that goes back a little bit to the negative, when
Mm,
we were talking about negatives, and I was
yeah.
saying people kind of still give you the, you know, hey,
Just think I
you're
am.
in your 40s and you buying toys.
Mm,
Like nobody in my immediate personal life that I know, you know, that like I can go physically hang out with. Nobody gives a fuck about any of this other than my
yeah.
cousin.
Yeah.
He and I have always been really tight, but none of my friends, like I've got a few friends. I don't really have got a lot of acquaintances. I've got a few,
Yeah.
very few close friends.
Do you think that's what brought you to YouTube to find more like minded people?
It's not what brought me to YouTube, but it's what's made me want to do more YouTube.
YouTube. Okay.
Same as you said, I didn't know there were people like this out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Were you surprised when you stumbled upon it?
I watched. I've always watched YouTube, and
Okay.
when I watched stuff on YouTube, I was mostly watching stuff about vintage.
Okay.
You know, I've
Okay.
run across people that do a lot of vintage stuff. Toy Connections was one,
Yeah.
um, but I never watched any of those guys like religiously. It's just, hey, I want to watch something about toys I had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So when I started getting into classified and looking for classified on YouTube, and I started seeing how many creators there were and how big some of them were, it's like, well, these people have pretty good following. I mean, you know, if you got 2,000 plus people in this sphere, you're a big fucking toy tuber.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
Big time.
there's people that have way more than that, but and then you find those people, and you see the people that they're own with and they talk to and talk about, and you
Mhm.
kind of branch out, and you're like, holy shit, there is a whole community, a whole toy verse out here. I can't believe there's that many people that are passionate about it, more passionate about it than I am. So it's definitely what has made me want to branch out, and like I've never had any intention of doing a YouTube channel
Yeah.
at all.
Well, so, who was the first gentleman within the YouTube sphere that you started to converse with and become like legitimate friends with?
Mm, knowing knowing they were on YouTube is probably the same place you can usually find me, and that's in Punk's chat.
Okay.
Not necessarily with Punk, but just people that go in there, and that is a lot of this core fellowship. Like my
Yeah.
cousin talks about, is a lot of the people that go in there.
Yeah.
Um, the first person that I actually had any, I guess, conversation with, who I did not even know was on YouTube, was Aaron the Toy Enhancer.
Okay. Okay.
And we've both kind of told the story. We're in the GI Joe classified community group, the big one, Jeremy Kimberlin's group.
Yeah, imagine.
Um, yeah, everybody's, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Um, and buying and trading, selling is allowed in there. And I one day, a guy posted that he was looking for an eel because you couldn't get eels.
Yeah.
I got lucky. I got plenty of eels, and I was looking for another snow serpent. So I messaged this guy, and I'm like, "Hey man, I've got an eel. Like, what do you got?" Is like, "What are you looking for?" I said, "Well, I'd really like to get another snow serpent because they were kind of hard to get at the time too."
Okay.
He said, "Well, I got one." So we traded. We, trust, traded,
Yeah.
and what you do. And a few days later, and maybe not even a week, I I get a message from the guy, and he was like, "Hey man, the eel's awesome. I see you got snow serpent," because he's checking tracking, and I was like, "You happy?" I said, "Well, yeah, I'm happy." He said, "Well, cool." He said, "Well, I did a review on this eel. I have a YouTube channel. Check it out." It's like, I gave you a shout out on the channel and
Okay.
for the trade. And I was like, "All right, well, cool. I'll check it out." And it was like, probably the next day, I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna go watch that dude's video." Because it's, seems like a lot of people have YouTube channels. Like, I wasn't thinking anything about it. I'm like, but he did say he gave me a shout out, so that'll be cool to hear my name on YouTube. And I want to see what he thinks about the eel, because I still had not opened one at that point. I
Oh
had
wow.
them, I didn't open any.
Yeah.
So I watched the video, and he did a good review on the eel, and he was like, met this dude on the classified group, and we did a trade. So, thanks to Darrin for the trade. Like, well, that was nice. I actually even sent that to Pop Blender. I was like, "Hey, check it out. I traded figures with this guy, and he gave me a shout out on YouTube. How cool is that?"
Yeah.
A couple weeks later, maybe, he shows up in Punk's chat. And I'm like, "This is the dude that I traded with." That was the name of his channel. So we're both in Punk's chat, and I sent him a message because we're still in messenger contacts. And I was like, "Hey man, I'm down south 77. I'm in here all the time. It's good to see you in here."
Yeah.
And we hit it off and got to kind of be friends. So he was really the first person that I really became friends with, but I'd already been talking to a lot of the regulars in chat, and people
Okay.
were knowing me a little bit. But Aaron was the first one that I made friends with.
No. Okay. So now, how does the backyard battlefield become a thing? Do you guys are just one day just shooting the shit, and you're like, "Hey, we should go live."
No. We went live, and I think it was on Aaron's channel.
Okay.
And this was after I had started my channel, because then, like, during that with Aaron, I don't even think I hadn't even started my channel yet.
Oh, okay.
He's like 5 months, 6 months ahead of me when he
Okay.
started his channel, because the way that I started a channel is actually very strange, and there's a story behind that. Um, but by then I had been on
Okay.
and doing some stuff, and he was like, "Well, hey man, you want to come on?" So he had me on, and he had Crow on, and that was the first time I'd ever actually seen Crow and like talked to him directly. We had talked in the chats, but
Chats. Okay.
he was just another cool guy that shows up in the toy tube chats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aaron had kind of developed a relationship with him the same way that he had with me, and he brought us together.
Okay.
We had a really good stream, had a good time. We got along really well. We kind of know where the other two people are in our headspace, and same kind of humor, which is sarcastic and a little bit dark, and we all
Yeah.
love toys. So we did that a couple of times, and some of the people that follow all of us, that are following all of us now, you two now.
Yeah.
They were like, "You guys are awesome together. You should start doing a show." And
Yeah.
they told all of us that together and individually. And then we started a group chat, and we're like, well, people really would like to see us interact more often. Like, maybe we should actually form, do a show together and try to do it every week or two,
Hell yeah.
and everybody do their own thing, but us get together and do this. So that's how that was formed, was
Awesome.
really Aaron knowing me and knowing Crow. And for whatever reason, people like listening to me and want to see us all together. That's how that come about.
Well, listen, that's how I found you guys one afternoon because I was following Aaron through because when I build dioramas or whatever it is, I always put on other builders because I want to see maybe there's a way they're doing it that I didn't even think of. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to see everybody's viewpoint and how everybody's attacking certain projects. So that's how I came across him. He was the first guy I subbed to, was Aaron, the toy enhancer, out of your guys' core,
Mhm.
even before Punk, because like I found Punk through Aaron because it
Oh
started
wow,
saying,
that's kind of that's wow, that's really backwards from the way most of
yeah,
it's gone. So
yeah.
that's
So I
cool.
found that's because I found Aaron, then I found you and Crow, then I found Punk because it was just like one of those things where I recommended Punk, and I just kind of went in there. He was live already. I was like, oh shit, it was like on a Monday. So he was doing his
Yep.
rambling. So I went in there and I saw you, I saw Aaron, and I saw Crow already in there. And I'm like, all right, so these are the guys I was just watching last week. So these guys are in here. Clearly, this guy. Let me just see what this guy's up to. And that's how I kind of started to like. I like the cut of Punk's jib. I was like, all right, I
Yeah.
like this guy. I like he just pulls no punches. He
Nope.
kind of says it how it is and shit like that. And like, I enjoyed Aaron. I enjoy all his work. So every time you guys were together, I was like, let me see this. Let me see what these guys are talking about. And the three of you together, it was just like a good, great chemistry. You could see. At first, I thought you guys were all friends for like
Yeah.
years because the way you
Yeah.
guys gelled together so easily. I'm like, these guys got something good here. Figured they were friends, and you guys were friends. And then I started to listen, and I realized that this was just like kind of something you guys just came together,
Yeah.
and it was this magic, man, and it works. It works real well. Now, you said you had a funny story about how you started your YouTube, and we have time, so I want to hear it.
So Pop Blender, my cousin, try has been trying to get me for at least 2 years to do a channel with him. We have vastly different schedules. Uh,
Okay.
his schedule is set, but it's like offset from one week to the other. And then my
Okay.
schedule is kind of, I mean, it's set, but I have stuff I do in the evenings and
Yeah.
whatever. So,
Yeah.
but he was trying to get me to do a channel with him, and I was like, man, it's just not. I'm not a in front of the camera kind of person. I
Kind of
just
guy. Yeah.
can't. I just can't see me doing it. And he wanted to do pop culture and like movie reviews, maybe us talk about an old movie, like just I mean, Empire Strikes Back, for example. That was
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
that come up. I was like, man, I don't really think that there's a lot of people that want to watch two 40 something dudes sit down and talk and pick apart a movie that everybody's seen 1,000 times that's, 40 years old. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't, I don't think there's any interest in that. And he was like, you'd be surprised. And it's like, yeah, man, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. And he kept on and he asked me a few times. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so, man. It's just not me. And finally, I think he gave up asking. And then when I finally did get into classified and ordered that scrap iron and copperhead and shipwreck, and I started getting these guys in and really loved them. And of course, now we're talking all the time. He's like, we still need to do a channel. I don't think so, man. So then I started building this room. The girl I was dating that I mentioned earlier, we were still kind of seeing each other at that time, and she helped me start putting all this together. She did most of the painting on my main cabinet back here
Mm.
because
Okay.
she's better at it than I am. So
Yeah.
um so I started getting this room kind of situated, putting my collection in here. This was a junk room. This
Uh,
room was full of boxes and stuff that I wanted to keep but not ever look at.
yeah,
So
okay.
that's what this room was up until probably April of last year.
Wow.
And so I started, we got this shelf ready, and I was dying for him and his son to come out and see it. I was so excited for him to come see it. I kept it all a secret. And they come out one night and looked at it, and I'd put up the posters, and there wasn't, these shelves weren't over here yet, but um this, the table wasn't in here. It was just this big shelf back here with my
Behind you, yeah.
figures. And he was like, "Oh my god!" He was like, "I can't believe you've done all of this in like 4 months." And I said, "I know, man." It's like, you were right. I should have listened to you. I love this line. So this is going to be. I call this room the pit. This is my pit
Hell
room.
yeah.
And it's not a
Right on, dude.
studio. This is my toy room. It's my pit. Got a
Yeah.
sign on. I had a sign on the door made. I have access cards to this room that are made that are
That's
kind of,
great.
there's only three people that have them, but I'll let the world see it now.
Yeah.
Um so he come over with his son, and they were just like, "Man, you did a good job here." He said, "Why are you not doing a YouTube channel
Yeah, I know,
about
yeah.
this?" And by that point, I was watching all these channels. I was watching
Yeah.
Punk, and I was like, well, some of these guys don't even have their toys in their background. Some of these guys don't have, lighting. They don't have, like, I do have a good background to do it. Like, but what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. And one night, it was the very first Punk's Pit that he did ever,
Okay.
back in probably September, October last year or something
Last
like
year.
that.
Okay.
Um, and I was in there, I was in the chat, and he was in there, Matthew Matson, of course, Tony's Figs, Big Bacon, several people in there. And Punk is always encouraging anybody watching that, because if you're watching it, you remember, and
Yeah.
I was at that point. Um, get on here. He posts the link. We want people that we've never seen before to come in and join the discussion. And I was about 3 or 4 beers in, and I was sweating bullets. I already had a camera because my cousin's been putting it in my head. I'd bought a webcam, but I also put it in the top of this closet over here because I decided I wasn't going to do it.
And use it. Yeah.
And I was in there, and they were like, "Oh, get on here. You should get on here. We want to see you. We want to talk to you." And I got that webcam out, and I put it in here, and I hooked it up, and I jumped on live with Punk on the pit. And I've never been live on YouTube before that point. I'd never been live on anything. I'd done videos for work training, and I've done a little bit of group speaking and stuff, but I'm not a person that really puts myself out there. I keep my cards kind of close and kind of
Yeah.
private. I had to get over all of that. I have anxiety. Um, I had to get over all of that before I could do it. But I got on the pit and got to talking to those guys and was telling them about forming a channel, and cousin been wanting me to do it, and they all encouraged me to give it a
Yeah.
shot, give it a try. And that night, I said, "Well, what do I have to lose?
For
Why
real.
not? Other people do it. It's everybody is just a normal person doing this as a hobby. Why not share my hobby and my feelings on the stuff? And maybe there's somebody out there that will enjoy it. I'm a personality. I'm like, you people are going to hear me talk and turn the shit off. Some people are just, that's the, but they encouraged me to start it. So between them and my cousin, it's like, well, I got to at least give it a
Give it a
try.
shot. Yeah. Give it a shot.
And I really enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
I was sweating bullets that first night when I was on with him. And I was like, I'm gonna say something stupid. I'm gonna do something stupid. People aren't gonna like me. They're not gonna like listening to me. But why not? I'll try it. And they give
Yeah,
me the
good job.
encouragement. My cousin give me the encouragement. And it's like, well, here it is. I'm gonna try it. And I've really enjoyed doing it. I've got, people that seem to enjoy what I'm doing. So as long as
Oh
I
yeah,
can have fun and entertain someone, um, and can keep it up, I'm
yeah.
happy.
Count it
I
as a win.
I had a message from somebody um, that follows a lot of us, and they had told me that my videos had helped them with anxiety and speaking and help them enjoy the hobby and get over some things that they were facing.
Man,
And if I get one person feels that way, then shit, I'm gonna keep going.
it was worth it for real.
Yeah,
That same
yeah,
thing happened with me. Cause like dude, I was in the same exact boat. I told my wife. My wife was like, "You should start a channel," because I had nobody to talk to. Like my closest friend collects toys, but he lives in Queens still. I live upstate now, so we don't really, he's got his own life, so we don't really talk.
yeah,
And all my other friends could give two shits about figures and stuff like that, so you can't really talk to them. So I'm talking to my wife every fucking day about it. So she's like, "Why don't you go like go and see if because like I found Articulated Ninja was the very first guy I found when I
hmm
just typed in action figure stuff. So I was watching him a lot. So she's
yeah,
like, he's live. Why don't you go in there and just see what it's about?" So I'm in the live chat and she's say something in the chat, start talking and make friends with these people because they're all saying what you're thinking. Because like everything they were saying I was like, yeah, I
yeah,
said that to you. So she's like, start talking. So I just started talking. Next thing you know, he's putting the thing up, right?
yeah.
And,
That's
I'm
great.
like, yeah, and I'm like, you know what? I think I want to give this a shot. I just want to talk toys. I want to. So that's where the genesis of this came from because I
Yeah,
wanted to meet guys like him, and then, like I said, spread. I met Aaron the Toy Enhancer, then I saw you, and then it was just one of those. I was like, oh my god, these guys, we're all on the same page. It's like we're in a hive mind. We all
yeah,
think the same exact fucking way. So I want to meet all these people, and I want to be able to just talk passionately and animately about toys without being looked at like a fucking like a mongoloid. Like you're 40 years
yeah,
old, you're still playing with toys. Like so
yeah.
that
What the
was
fuck's wrong with you? Yeah, yeah,
exactly. So it was the same thing for me. So when I came on and I started making videos and I I I did the first episode of Talking Figures where I basically said that I have anxiety, I have really bad social anxiety where I have trouble leaving my house. So
yeah,
this would be the only way that I could kind of reach out to people. And was like a couple of days later, Woody Triple Two started his, and then he shouted me out. He
yeah,
said, I just want to shout out Legend Series, who said all this stuff that I was going through too, and if he can do it, I think I can do it." And I turned around to my wife and I said, "If that's all that comes from this channel, like nobody else subscribes, nobody else watches. If that's all I get from it, then that was all I needed to hear." So
yep,
I'll continue to do this. I don't give a fuck who watches it at this point because I was able to basically use my story to motivate this gentleman to do the same thing that I did because we suffer from the same problem.
yep,
So to me, it's a no brainer. It's a winner. Even if it's just one person, you still touch that one person no matter what. So you
yep.
count it as a win.
I had similar conversations with Woody
Yeah,
also, and I was like, man, it's if you ever do it, like it's you don't have you have that wave of the crippling anxiety in the beginning
yeah,
when you first start it, and then it passes, and that camera is like you're talking to your friends,
exactly,
and
exactly.
the friends that you're talking to are or have the potential to be friends because they're thinking the same shit you're
As you're doing,
thinking.
yeah,
They're feeling what you're feeling. And it's a nice release for
hell yeah,
people that have trouble going out and being around other people for whatever reason you're that
yeah,
way. Um, when I go out and I have to do it for my job, I'm not this person. Like I go
yeah.
into a mode where like I'm getting paid. I got to go do this.
That's it.
But
Yep,
when I
the same way.
go, I can't hardly go to a mall.
Me neither. Yeah,
The noise. the
Yeah.
noise. Noise is a big thing for me. Noise is a big
Yeah,
trigger.
I tell my wife, I said the best way I can explain it to you is like when Superman first gets his sonic hearing and you hear
Yeah,
everything at once and you
yeah,
just your mind can't process all the noise and sounds that are coming through your ears and you
yeah,
have no idea how to handle it. So you just kind of like your brain's all sensory overload. I tell my
yeah.
wife that all the time. So you don't like because like listen, I produce live wrestling. That's my job. You know,
Right.
so I'm in crowded buildings on weekends where it's just like I tell my wife, I was like, I'm like a duck on water. Like I look calm, but on the inside, my feet are like this.
Yeah,
Like I can't.
yeah,
So like I have to sit in the booth, in the production booth, with all the TVs around me because I don't want to see. Like if I see the crowd on TV, to me it's on TV.
yeah,
But if I just peek over that TV and I see the live crowd, my brain will shut down. It's happy,
yeah.
you
Oh
know.
yeah,
So it's just like I tell her I was like I don't know if people are gonna like you know the anxiety creeps in. It's just like I don't know if I can sit here on a live and like that. I always tell people this when I do those lives on Sunday, I never look at the number
yeah,
because I don't want to see how many people are in there. I notice like a lot of guys go, "Oh, we got this many, we got this
yeah,
many," and if you say that to me, my heart will start to. I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, don't tell me the
Yep.
number. I don't want to know how many people are watching because if I'm acting like, because then I start to worry about like where do I put my hands? You know, I
Yeah.
just like dumb shit starts
Yeah,
creeping in your head.
man, I do that too. I sit here and
Yeah,
fidget constantly.
yeah, I'm like, what do I say? What do I do? Do I look like a fucking idiot right now? Am I paying attention? Like, it's just all this shit starts to run through your fucking head, and I just
Yeah,
like I tell the guys who watch, the guys and girls who watch, I say I don't look at it like a live stream no more because of you guys because the chat is so friendly and it's
yeah,
so welcoming that I feel like we're sitting around a bonfire with some beers and some smoke and just sitting there talking and laughing and having a great fucking time. It's like a cookout
yeah,
almost. I feel
yeah, yeah, it is. It's great. I mean, you're talking to, you're talking to people that you like-minded
like.
people. I'm
Yeah,
like you. I don't like looking at that number either. I
no, yeah,
do. I do. I can't. I try not to, but I will glance up there. And I'm like, well, shit.
yeah.
Last time I looked at it, there were two more people watching. What am I doing that? What am
Wrong,
I
yeah.
doing that they didn't like? And then the next time I look, there'll be three more people watching.
People up.
I'm like,
Yeah,
oh well, it's just people filtering in and out, and people got to go to bed, people got to do, make dinner, whatever. I'm gonna keep going, like, it's
just
just,
yeah.
I
That's why I
keep
started
talking to
doing
the
people.
chat.
And the cool thing is when people leave, they say they're leaving. They don't just
Oh yeah,
bounce.
yeah,
You know, hey, I gotta go back to work, or hey, I gotta do this. Thanks, great stream or whatever. And you're just kind of like, hey man,
yeah,
I'm gonna be here for a little bit. So if you want to come back, and some of them, yeah, I'm back, man. What's up? Like, and you're like, holy shit, welcome back. Yeah. So to me, it's just
yeah,
like,
like you
it's
came back.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So you're just like, wow, you actually, you said you were going to come back and you did, which means I was interesting enough for you to want to come back and join the conversation. It wasn't like, this is boring. I got to get out of here. This guy's,
yeah,
he's not talking about anything. Cause that was the big fear for me was it's just me.
yeah,
Like I have no one to talk to. That's, I told my wife, just stay in the room. You don't got to leave. Cause she
yeah,
was originally going to go in the other room. I was like, no, just stay here just in case. I was like, there's a good chance that it might just be me and you.
yeah,
But I
right,
might just be talking to you. There might not be
yeah.
somebody here. So I just please stay here. And then she became like a part of the show.
She's funny as hell. Your interactions
Yeah.
with her on your
Yeah.
show are so funny.
That's what it
I
is.
love listening to that when
Yeah.
you and her playing off of each
Yeah.
other.
That's what happened. Like, cause she yells at me all the time. I don't take shit seriously
Yeah,
because I suffer from a lot of stuff, depression, anxiety, all that. And I tell her, I was like,
yeah,
that's already serious. So like real life is already fucked up. So
yeah,
when I'm with you and we're just joking, it's just jokes. It's
yeah,
nonstop jokes with me because I just want to be taken away from the real shit. Like for
yeah.
instance, and I don't want to get heavy on you, but my mother today fell, broke her
Mm.
arm.
Oh man.
Okay. Yeah, my sister had to rush to the hospital and shit like that. She's okay now, thank God. She
Okay.
fractured it. She didn't break it all the way through. But
Mm.
it's like I said to her, I was like, that's real life. That sucks. Okay, you
Yeah,
got to take that shit seriously. Can't be fucking around with that. So when that's taken care of, when I come to you and just me and you one on one, unless it's a serious problem between us, it's all jokes because
yeah,
I need my mind to kind of reset and get taken away from
yep,
that. Because if I don't get taken away from that, then my anxiety and depression fixates on the fact that my mother fell. And
yeah,
now that's all I'm thinking about.
yep,
So that's why it's got to be like this. So to me, when she sat here with the live streams and I started bouncing off her, and now I'm looking at the chat and everybody's kind of laughing and playing off of it as well.
Yeah.
I said to her, I was like, I think you just found yourself a spot on this live stream. I was like, I don't
Yep.
think you can go high because you make it easy for me now.
Yeah,
So she's like, okay.
it's great, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like what I said. Like this is, and that goes back to some of the negative, like the people, like you don't. I want to get away from that shit. I come
All that
here to
bullshit.
get
Exactly.
away from that shit. Like we're doing our show tonight. Like we had to reschedule it because of
Yeah.
some real life shit that's
Yeah.
unforeseeable. I had some of that also on the same day. Like,
Yeah.
I spent a large portion of the day at doctors, and then on top of it, my dog is sick. I had to come home
Oh,
from a day of doctor visits, and my dog was sick. So I had to take my dog to the vet on top of
yeah.
that. And I was like, well, I got him situated. I figured out most of the shit that I was worried about. Like, we're gonna get on, and I'm looking forward to sitting down because I know we're gonna talk, and our mind is gonna go away from
The
this
bullshit.
other shit going on,
Yeah.
and
Facts.
that's what this is as much as anything else. It is it's escapism, but it's group escapism. Like
Yeah.
everybody is on here to have fun, and most everybody is trying to make friends and
Yeah.
get away from all of that real world nonsense that we have to deal with every day.
Every day. Facts.
And it's like every little thing that happens is it's like another stick of wood on the cart you're trying to pull.
Yeah.
And when you get to do something like this, or you get to make a video, or I get to I do a live with either or that I'm on with, or I get a toy and I get to do a review, like I get to set that cart down for a little while. I get to drop
Yeah.
it and do something that's fun that I enjoy,
Yeah.
and maybe other people will too.
Exactly. For
So
instance, I told my wife, like I had to move Sunday stream to 10 p.m. instead of I usually do 7. But it's
mm,
because we have a wrestling show that day. And she said, "Do you really want to come home and then go live?" And I said to her, I was like, "Well, honestly, I said it would be a good reset because of all the anxiety that I'm gonna have from the weekend because we have 2 shows back to back.
oh yeah,
So I was like, just dealing with that all fucking weekend. The reset will be the live stream where I'm just gonna sit and talk to people
yeah,
and just
unwind.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Be
exactly.
the you that you want to be, not the you that you have to be.
Have to be. Oh yeah, 100. That's a great way of saying it, brother. For real.
That's
Uh,
these the masks, you talked about the depression and stuff. I
yeah,
think a lot of that goes hand in hand with anxiety. I have both. I haven't been having a good week, and it's nice to have something to look forward to
over
that
to
is
yeah.
going to lift it up.
Yeah, it's because
You
like that's
know?
what my wife said. Like, do you want to do the interview today with 3 Star? And I said to her, I was like, yeah. I was like, it was a rough day between my mother and all this other shit. I was like, I actually wouldn't mind just talking toys, just kind of
Yeah,
just resetting. I was like, I just honestly, as I said, we got a big weekend ahead of us. Today was not a good day. I could use the reset. She's like, all right, just do what you got to do. I was like, I appreciate it. So, and
yeah.
I appreciate you, honestly, for like being on here with me today. So I got one more question for you.
Okay.
And that is, how long do you think you're going to continue to collect? Do you think it will go all the way until the wheels fall off, or do you think there's a shelf life on it for you?
At some in some fashion, I'll go till the wheels fall off.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Now, when wheels fall off for me, the whole fucking car falls apart. So who knows what that will entail, and hopefully it's not for a while. Like I'll have to pare down picking stuff up and start cherry picking stuff as just the way it goes. But like I said, I've always, in one form or another, collected something. And
Yeah.
as passionate as I am about, especially GI Joe, I don't see a stopping point. I can see maybe
Yeah.
pumping the brakes a little, dragging the brakes a little. Um, but I'm having so much fun, and I'm having so much fun meeting people. I don't
Yeah.
want that to to cease,
Yeah.
and collecting kind of fuels doing that and gives you something to connect with. But I like having stuff that can take my mind off of
Oh yeah.
stuff. So I don't see me stopping collecting, period, like just cold turkey, not going to do it anymore. You can't control some of the life situations, but
Yeah.
voluntarily, nah, I don't see this stopping, and I
Going
don't
away, huh?
really want it to.
Right on. Is there a figure they haven't made yet that you're like, fuck, why haven't they made that one? I want them so bad.
In classified or
Yeah, let's say
general?
classified, and then after that, any line.
In classified, they actually just name dropped my most wanted, or revealed my most looked forward to, hope they make it soon figure, and that's Saw Viper.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
I hope he looks different from the render in some
I saw that
aspects.
one. Yeah.
I'm not crazy about. I'm not crazy about some of the aesthetics and, of
Mm,
course, his weapon,
yeah.
but having him look close enough to the original, that is my number one most wanted figure in
Yeah.
classified. So
Oh wow.
it was Mud and Junkyard and
Yeah.
Torch. Obviously, we just got them, or we're
Yeah.
getting Torch, but I gotta have him Dreadnoks, man. But Saw Viper is the one that I've been really, really, really looking forward to, and there's others I really want to see, but he's number one.
One. Or what other lines do you like? I gotta get this one when it comes out.
Um, I'm excited for the Monster Force figures, like most
Oh, you are too,
people
huh?
are.
Because I got those pre-ordered as well,
I,
and I'm pretty
I don't have any pre-ordered yet.
okay.
Um, I've got there's two that I'm for sure going to.
Which ones are
My
those?
thing, Dr. Caligari and
Okay.
the Donner Party.
Okay. Okay.
Those are the two. I like all of them,
Yeah.
and I do want Dracula, and I want Declan.
Yeah.
Those are the leaders. You got to have them dudes. But as far as coolness and shit, Doctor Caligari and Donner Party.
Pretty awesome.
But I've never held a Fresh Monkey fiction figure.
Yeah.
I don't. There's none anywhere that I'm aware of near me.
The only one I heard of that had released already was the Santa Claus one, and I'm not sure who said it, but they said he was a little wonky. He wasn't great.
Yeah.
And the only two, because I only pre-ordered two, was Van Helsing and Dracula,
Yep.
because just because I like those two figures, and
Yeah.
that's going to basically determine whether or not I then jump into that line.
Yeah.
But we'll
Uh,
see. Yeah,
I want to get my hands on some figure of
yeah,
theirs. I'm
yeah.
hoping there will be there. I think they're going to be at Joe Fest.
Well, I did read. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, because I noticed in my pre-order that the pictures for Van Helsing and Dracula changed. They are like actual product pictures now. Like they, I like
Okay.
there was like looked like someone like a photographer did it.
Well, that's
And then
good.
and it went from saying second quarter 2024 on the little like description. It
Hmm.
says coming early summer. So that changed finally.
I haven't seen that because they
Yeah.
were originally second quarter and then they went to third.
I know. So now it's
So
saying mid
hmm,
early summer. Now it's saying that's I don't know if it changed, but that's what I read a couple days ago, and I was like, oh shit, fucking finally. Because
that's
like I said,
interesting.
yeah. Because now, did you is it real that hooded Cobra Commander, or looking that like their version
Yes,
of it? That's
that
real.
is that is another one that I definitely want to order, and those guys are separate from Monster Force, as I
Yeah. Right.
understand it. They're the
Yeah.
Shadow of the Crimson Moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going to work with Monster Force, but yeah,
Mhm.
it is. Those Shadow of the Crimson Moon figures, as I understand it, are almost like sort of like a Kickstarter. Like they got to get so many
Oh, okay.
orders
Yeah.
before they're going to do them, and I think the way that one is working is they need so many orders of the other ones to go ahead and do that one.
Do that one. Yeah.
I don't know all the inner workings because I actually got on Big Bad and was looking for that figure, and I went
Yeah. Me
through
too.
all of the Crimson Moon ones, and I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And then I saw it again on Facebook or somewhere, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they've got to have so many orders of the other ones to do this one. And I'm guessing maybe that's why they're a higher price point than
Yeah.
the Monster Force, but it also looks like they come with more stuff, and Gridiron's doing their stuff
Yeah.
too.
Weapons.
So,
So yeah, look cool,
that
man.
probably adds $4 to each figure.
Facts. Yeah, facts.
Um,
Now, are they supposed to be a play on GI Joe because they have like a Cobra Commander looking one and they have a Destro looking one too, right?
they are what the Palatoy figures were in Europe.
Oh,
Was the first company, I believe, that made the GI Joe figures over in Europe,
oh,
and I
okay.
think that later is what turned into Action Force. But
Oh,
so they're actually those figures that
wow. Okay.
I believe that's the way it works. So
Yeah.
they are not really a play on GI Joe. They're kind of
Yeah.
like a counterpart
Kind of
to
like
GI
GoBot.
Joe. But I think those Palatoy figures were the ones that, when they first come out, were only 5 POA, and then
Yeah.
they went to Action Force and they were more like Joe's. I believe that's the way that works.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on the overseas stuff, but so they are in conjunction with original Joe stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Are you excited about the new retro Cobra Commander coming out?
yeah, I cannot wait. That's the best figure that they
Yeah,
showed
for real. I
in the
agree.
whole thing. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
we scored those figures on
Yeah, I
our
was watching that.
stream.
Yeah.
And I think, me and Aaron gave it a 10 and Crow gave it like a 5.
Yeah.
But that's why I haven't opened my Hiss Cobra Commander.
I yeah, I got him as a gift. I got the Hiss as a gift, and I left that Cobra Commander in the package because I don't know. I just feel like wrong opening that particular one. He's right back here,
Yeah.
but I just was like, well, if they're gonna come out with a retro card version, like
Yeah.
I can just wait. It's not a big. I waited this long, so what's a couple more months, whatever it's for.
That's exactly how I felt about it. One, because
Mm.
the figure is valuable. So
Yeah,
I do keep some stuff in box. Like there's
yeah,
some stuff I keep in box. I probably open 90, 85, 90%. Some stuff I keep in box, some because it is more valuable, some just because I want it in my collection, but I don't need it on the
mm,
shelf. Um, but I'm the same way. You knew when they announced that HasLab Cobra
yeah,
Commander, which I didn't back. um, you knew when they did that they were going to do the retro, and I'm the same as you. The first Cobra Commander, number 7 or whatever he is, like,
mm,
the reason I never bought him when I first saw him was because, one, I still wasn't over the 6 inch hump, and two, because he wasn't exactly my faceplate
yeah,
battle mask Cobra Commander.
yeah,
But when I finally got him, like, he's close enough for me.
yeah. He was cool looking.
So when you see the Hiss one, you're like, well, they're going to do it. I've already got this one on the shelf.
Yeah,
I believe I can wait. So I'm glad I did, cuz man, that chromed the
yeah. Well, he's got the
the
metal
face
patch or whatever.
shield.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
sick.
the vac metallized. Yeah.
Yeah,
The only thing is, now that they have the ability to do that, they're going to go back and try to release another version of anything they can put chrome on.
Destro for sure, right?
Destro and Crow brought up a good point. Like, we're still waiting for Iron Grenadier Destro, so he can
Yeah,
have that vac gold head, since they have the plastic now
yeah, for sure. That's
to
definitely coming.
match him. I think so. I think that's why they hadn't done anything with Destro,
Yeah.
far as a name drop yet, is because we needed to see that Cobra Commander first.
All right, so gun to your head, what do you think the HasLab is this year?
Um, my prediction is the Hydrofoil, the Moray.
Okay.
I do subscribe to the theories of the consensus that it's going to be the Moray, the Rattler, or Destro's Demon.
Yeah, that's what a couple
Because
people saying.
I mean, if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have laughed at the demon. But we're getting full up on Iron Grenadiers, and
All
we're
these
gonna
Iron
have them.
Grenadiers is coming. Yeah, like I did you hear about Woody buying 31 of each?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that was. We were talking about that in there, and um, you
That's
know, yeah, I made it. I made it. I made a point out of that. I'm like, you know what? If you got the money,
go
fuck
for
it.
it.
Buy
Yeah, no,
what
go
makes you
for it.
happy. If you got the
Yeah,
money, you ain't hurting nobody. If that shit makes you happy,
yeah.
that's his favorite
Did you
subgroup.
have you gotten any Valivers or no?
I have one Valaverse, and it was a gift.
Okay.
I don't personally have anything against the figures themselves.
Yeah,
I kind of feel the way a lot of people feel about the company owner,
yeah, yeah,
but I'm not. I don't know enough about that situation to.
yeah.
I just know what I've seen, and what I've seen kind of falls in line with what other people say. The one figure that I actually have is great,
Which one is it?
Duster.
Dusty. Okay. Okay.
Um,
I have a
and he
few. I have a few. I like them, but they're not without their problems. I will say.
No, I've got no problems with the one that I have, and
Yeah,
he's fine. There are some other ones
yeah,
that
yeah.
I want to get. I want some of the tracers, especially the new
Mm.
one, the glow one.
Dark. Yeah.
The Punk's got. I really want that one. I just hadn't pulled the trigger because as much of a I don't have a problem with the Valaverse. I like them. I like their lore, their story that they're building for it. But anything similar to Valaverse in my mind is always going to be a knockoff GI Joe.
Joe. Yeah, I agree
Uh,
with you.
may, Maybe that's not the way it is. That's just how it feels in my
Yeah.
head.
No.
Uh,
Yeah.
it was such a GI Joe was such a big part of my life, and I have the brand on such a pedestal. Even though I have my issues with stuff, but it's still my favorite line. Um, Anything else is gonna feel like it's just kind of ripping it off, no matter what the quality of it is. And I don't mix stuff with classified.
Okay. So
Uh,
you're not a crossover guy, huh?
I'm not a crossover guy.
Okay.
You were talking about how you played with your stuff in the
Yeah.
past. I never did that.
Okay.
But that wasn't just with Joe's. I didn't mix anything when I
Anything at
played.
all? Yeah.
Yeah, I played with Transformers. It was Transformers.
Yeah.
He Man was He Man. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way it was in my head. Maybe I wasn't creative enough to put He Man into a G.I. Joe story. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just the way that I grew up. I mean, I had some of the kids that I knew growing up. Um, like if we would play, and obviously other than my cousin, if we'd play whatever, like I always had this stupid thing in my head that I look back now and was like it's such a kid thing to think. I'd be like, well, you're not playing right. Like, how do you
Yeah.
say that to another 8 or 9 year old? Like, but that's what was in my head. Like I had one friend that called Darth Vader Dark Vader, and I fucking hated it. It made me not want to play with that kid anymore. So
I used to drive my friends crazy because I was a big storyteller,
yeah,
so it always had to make sense. So, like, if you were to mix He-Man and Superman, He-Man had to come through a wormhole. That'd be the only way I would
yeah,
allow it. Like, I
yeah.
wouldn't allow it any way else. So it was like one of those things where people would be like, "Well, why can't I put this guy?" I was because it doesn't. And I would say that doesn't make sense, and people would be like, "We're playing with toys. What do you mean it doesn't make sense?"
We're talking about
And
toys.
yeah, and I'd be like, "All right, I guess, And then, like, in my head, because I'm such a psycho, I would then say in my head that he came through a wormhole.
Yeah.
So fuck you. You don't want to believe, I believe.
Yeah,
So,
that's
and it
right.
was like
I
one of those things.
I believe it
Yeah.
enough for both of us.
For both of us, exactly. You don't have to. I'll write the
Yep.
fucking story. You just play with the figure.
Yeah.
Like,
What what was the worst was when I would play with kids like that and they tried to mix up Joes and Cobras. So they'd like try to put
yeah,
the
that's no.
Cobras with the
Yeah.
Joes. They'd be like, I don't care what they look like. Them fuckers belong over there and these fuckers belong over here. There's
Yeah, I
no
don't care.
middle ground.
Yeah, I don't care how cool you think this figure is. He's a bad guy. Go put him
Yeah,
over there. Yeah.
he's a Cobra. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and that's continued. Like that's why all my classified stuff is classified stuff, and then I have this shelf
Stuff,
here that
everything
is
else.
it's mixed, but it's all GI Joe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then this over here is a little bit of everything. Like you got Voltron standing beside
Yeah.
fucking McCready from The Thing, you know.
How happy were you when you found all those Voltrons in the store?
Dude, I almost pissed myself. I ain't gonna lie. I'm glad I decided to do a toy hunt because
Yeah.
that's something I never really have gotten into when me and Toy Enhancer went out that day. Like it's weird. It's just always felt weird to me.
Yeah.
Like I love watching people's though. That's I don't they get views like
Yeah. Yeah. They
but
do.
I didn't really do it for the views. I was just like, well, I'm gonna film a toy hunt because
Yeah.
I just always thought it was weird to go in with your phone and shit. But I forgot I had that faux pro, that knockoff GoPro, and I'm like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I can hold that like in clandestinely, like I'm fucking Firefly doing recon.
Yeah.
So I was glad I brought that thing with me that
Yeah.
day. I could not believe that I found them. Uh,
Yeah.
and then the next day, I found them again. I found them all 2 days in a row.
Was it the same place or was it two different places?
It was two different targets,
Places.
about
Okay.
20 or 25 miles apart.
Apart. Wow.
Uh, and
Wow.
I and I was like, well, that worked. Like, I ain't doing shit because it was Memorial Day weekend, and all my
Yeah.
plans got rained out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was going to my camper and it rained.
Yeah.
And I've got to mow. I guess so. Actually, I'm doing it tomorrow. I've got to go down there and mow, and I haven't mowed, so the grass is tall. I'm like, I'm not even going to try to do it while it's wet.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, I woke up early and I'm like, well, fuck it, I'll go do a toy hunt. I'll grab the Faux Pro and maybe I'll get lucky and find the Voltron lines. But I was really hoping I'd find some of the Python Trouble Bubbles because they were
Okay.
having that big
Yeah. They
sale.
were. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I got to go look for these lines. I didn't even know where in the store that they were. I figured they were on their collector spot.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm going down through there, and like it actually shows in the camera before I saw them because it's a wide angle lens. And
Yeah.
I'm going down looking at all the stuff. Like I don't see any Jada Street Fighters, and they're in frame while I'm talking about this other shit. And then I go and I look, and I'm like, oh no. So I got down, and they were on like the second shelf down. I
Yeah.
got down on one knee, and I'm like, watch them. They're going to have like, it's going to be like four of this same line.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and I start going through them, and they had all four. And I was
Oof.
like, oh my God. So of course I didn't buy, they had the black line too, but I didn't buy it because that's the one I had.
Already had 'em, yeah.
I should have picked it up because there's other people that can't find it. So
Mhm.
the next day, I'm like, well, you know what? That was fun. That was a good video. Like, shit, I'll go to a different Target and try it again. And lo and behold, they had the whole set again.
Man,
And
holy shit.
and I did buy the black line because I knew my cousin wanted the black line,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, I just went ahead and I'm gonna get them all because if he only wants the black one, then he's got the black one, and I know everybody else needs the other
The
ones.
other ones, yeah.
And turns out he was like, well, I'd been thinking about it, and I kind of wasn't going to get the black line because I knew I'd never find the other ones because
Other
I
ones,
want to
yeah.
form Voltron.
Yeah.
So like, all right, well, I got all of them. And turns out that night he didn't have his son. It was a night that he normally would have had him, but he had, I don't know, band or something that night. And so he wasn't going to have him. I'm like, well, shit, why don't you come over, man? And we'll do a big ass video about building Voltron. So that
Hell
was
yeah.
actually that night that I found him the second time he
That's
come
awesome.
over. So I was ecstatic because I didn't think I'd ever find them. And now they've got the box
The
set
thing on, yeah, I know.
for
I remember
pre-order.
because me and Woody both had the black line. We were both thinking like, "Alright, well, how are we gonna get lucky with the other 4?" And just as we're talking about that, I go on Big Bad, and I see that they just they just put the thing. I just send them the link. I said, "Well, fuck Target. You just go right
Yeah.
here and get everything now, and just sell the Black Lion if you want."
Yeah, and it shouldn't like I think it's slated for third quarter release, but
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, all they got to do is print the packaging up for it. You know, they already got the
yeah.
damn lines, but
Now
that's cool because it's got the collector
the whole
packaging and
box.
it's
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it's got the handle in it. You know, like you're
yeah.
buying a suitcase of
Makes
natural
sense.
light.
Now you said that it was a little janky. Is that true? Is it a little loose? Can't
It
really fuck with
is.
it.
It's loose. The way that because you know you got five components fitting together. Even the original Voltron was a little bit loose in that area.
Okay.
You've got to position the legs right, and Aaron, the toy enhancer, he when he finally got all five of his, he just did a video putting his together, and it kind of plays on what Pop Blender and I were talking about with them being loose, and
Yeah.
he goes into greater detail and shows closer up the positions that you kind of need them in.
Oh, okay.
You've got to have the legs properly spread apart the certain distance, and you can
Yeah,
actually turn the leg lines. So you spread them and space them, and you kind of
yeah.
turn them. And the most important part is the head where the feet come down. Because there's a piece in the back too that's like the base of the tail, and
Okay.
you've got to get that right because the head can actually keep going forward
Oh shit. Okay.
a little bit, and it's
Yeah.
just enough to throw the whole thing off
Oh, man.
balance.
Yeah.
The waist is a little bit loose, so
Yeah.
I mean, I've had him sitting over here. He hasn't moved. You know, I've messed with him a couple of
Yeah.
times. So I say janky. He's more shaky than janky, but
Janky.
I would I would definitely encourage anybody if you're after the thing and you find them all because you
Get him.
like Voltron, get him
Yeah.
and fucking
Yeah.
build him because he's cool. You just have
Pretty
to
cool. Yeah.
don't put him on a real tall shelf.
Yeah. I saw Woody he found the three, he couldn't find the blue line, and then Jay Gonzo found him the blue line. But Jay Gonzo
Yeah,
like he hit me up and he was like, I found the lines. Do you need some? And I was just like, well, if you can't get all four,
yeah,
because I don't know how hard it's going to be to find the other two. Because he said I can get you the red and yellow.
yeah.
And I said that's cool. I said, listen, I'm not going to say no, but how hard is it going to be to find green and blue? I don't. I mean, we'll
The
see, right?
green and the blue seem to be the two hardest.
Just ones to find. Yeah, yeah,
They seem to be the two hardest to find, and of course the blue and the yellow are the legs. So you know
yeah.
what you saw what Woody did. He made him a crutch out of a classified box till he got it. I thought that was
Right.
hilarious.
Yeah.
But when I found them the first day, there were two red lines.
Oh
There
wow.
there was one of everything, but there were two red lines.
Okay.
So I picked that one up because I knew somebody was going to need it, and
Yeah.
turns out Aaron needed that one. I hollered at him, so
Weird.
I sent
Awesome.
him that extra red one,
Yeah.
and
Awesome.
I was hunting. I actually went to two more targets trying to find the blue one for Woody, and
Yeah.
I struck out at those two. They didn't have shit. They had their stock said they had one of the black line, and they couldn't even find it. Like
Wow.
it wasn't on the shelf, and it was one of those targets that does not have a lot of friendly employees like most of them
Yeah.
do. And they weren't. They were like, "Yeah, it ain't here. The system's wrong."
Yeah. They're
But
not gonna help you.
yeah, it seems like the stores that have showed the Black Lion in stock on Target's website, their app, it seems like they're getting the rest of them, maybe
Yeah.
not at the same time,
Okay.
but the other ones are not showing up in the inventory.
At all.
They're not showing up where
No.
you can't even search them and find them in the inventory, only the black one. But it seems like stores getting the black line are getting the other four too. They're just probably getting snatched up quicker because
Much
everybody
quicker.
has the black one
Yeah.
because you can
Yeah.
order it online. That's how I
Also,
got mine. I,
yeah, because that's how I got mine. That's how I got the black line. I got him. I just bought him online. So I'm not gonna go fucking searching for this thing if he's available on Target. And lo and behold, I just typed it in and he came right up. the black
Yeah.
line. I was like, all right, so I just got him. And
Yeah.
then like I said, Jay Gonzo told me that the employee literally told him, he's like, I'm gonna stack these out on the shelf now. And he just went to go get a cart. And by the time he came back, a lot of it was already gone. So
Oh.
just to go to the cart and back, he got what he got. You know, he
Yeah.
got the blue line for Woody, and like I said, he got the yellow and red one for me. But it was still like there was a bunch there. By the time he came back with his cart, everything was pretty much gone, and he got
It
what he
se-
could.
it seems like the green is the rarest out of all of them, which is
Yeah.
my favorite line. But
Mhm.
um, it's funny you talk about when I found them. Like I didn't take a cart back there,
Yeah.
so I've never walked faster through a Target than I walked from the collector spot back to the front of the store and back
Yeah.
with a buggy because I
Yeah.
was afraid of that same thing happening
Yeah.
because it was earlier in the morning, but it wasn't like when they first opened. They'd already been open
Yeah.
for like an hour and a half before I got there. So I was speed walking through that Target with that buggy. I'm like, boy, I hope no little kids step out in front of me because they're finna
Man.
get mowed down on my way back to get these lines.
Hell yeah, dude.
Send me a bill.
Yeah, I went back because I'm close to Target here, and we went in, and I just said to my wife, I said they're not gonna have
Yeah.
these lions, you know, but we'll just check. And they didn't, but that's where I found the RoboCop with the chair. So
Yeah.
I said to my wife, I was like, well, it's not a total loss. I was like, we'll
Yeah.
get this instead, you know, like fuck it. But yeah, man, I know they're gonna be hard to find. Like I would love to complete Voltron. You
Yeah.
know, me and my brother was big fans of Voltron as kids,
Yeah.
but I don't. It's not one of my, you know, not one of the things where you have to complete. Like for instance, like when the His tank came out, I didn't back it neither, but I knew at some point I would own a His tank. I would make
Yeah.
sure I'd go out of my way to get it, and eventually I have it now. But
Yeah.
that's like when it comes to Voltron, I'm kind of like, oh, if you find it, you find it. If not, you just sell the ones you got to somebody who might have the other ones that need to complete it. So I just,
Yeah.
if I complete it, cool. If not, I'm not gonna like lose sleep over it. But
Yeah.
like I'm like you,
That's
man.
all of us.
Yeah, I'm starting to like I told my wife, I was like, hey, we gotta start reeling this in a little bit because it's getting out of control. Like there are pre-orders coming up every single fucking day, and you just don't
Yeah.
even realize it. So I'm getting to a point now where I just pull the trigger. I don't even blink. And I told her, I was like, I can't do that because these things come out at certain times where I don't even expect them to, and
Yeah.
I can't do that shit no more. You know, like for instance, the Valaverse, we just got done talking about them. They just released that new line,
Yeah. The
and now
100.
yeah, now I only want two figures out of there, you know,
I
but
want one.
but I saw the two, like the soldier guy and then the robot looking fucking figure
Hmm.
guy. That those everybody's army building with them already. And I said to my
Yeah.
wife, "It's like we have the two shows this week, and I won't get paid till Sunday. By the time I get paid Sunday, there's no guarantee that these fucking guys will even be there anymore. So instead of just like doing that FOMO shit and just buying the ones that I want, I just said if you don't get them, you don't get them. It's not a big deal. And I
Yeah.
just closed the website. I didn't even give a shit. So I'm trying to
Well,
reel
yeah.
this shit back in.
I get the general dude with the
That's it.
fucking
Yeah,
cigar and
yeah.
I want that dude.
I wanted him, and I want the bone collector that's gonna be
Yeah.
an exclusive at DWF. That's all I don't care about the other ones. I really don't give a
Yeah.
fuck.
You got to hook up somebody that's going to be down there to try to get him for you.
Yeah, I got a few
Okay.
guys down there. I already asked him. I said, just listen. I know he's gonna be hard because he's an exclusive, so mad people are probably gonna be after him. But if you can just manage to get out, PayPal you, my son, whatever you need. I don't give a fuck. I just really want that one guy.
Yeah, I mean, you may have to add a little bit to it, because
Extra.
people are going to grab it and be like, "Well, I
Mhm.
got one." He's $40, but 60.
Yeah.
You never know with
Unfortunately,
these
yeah.
exclusives, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I'd be willing to because I just like the new mask. I
Yeah,
like the new look of him, and
yeah, they look
the
good.
general guy really. When I saw that guy, I was like, "Oh, this guy's cool." Like all the other
Yeah,
ones, like I said, I was like, "Damn, it's really not doing it for me." I like the army builder ones, but I don't care to army build like that with those guys. They're like unless it looks like if they're in blue, so I can kind of match them to Cobra,
yeah.
kind of. I'll do that, but I'm not trying to army build with guys that I really don't give a fuck about.
Well, that's my thing. Like with Falaverse, like I think they're fine figures. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
I'm not going to put them with my Joes.
With the
They're
Joes, yeah,
they're going to have their own little.
shelf.
They got to have their own little spot. Now I do have the Duster on my GI Joe, but not all
Yeah.
classified. Duster is up there, so that's probably where I would put some of those guys. I'm getting ready
Yeah.
to redo some of this,
Okay.
but yeah, like you said, man, there's something new that's cool coming out every single
Day.
fucking day. It seems like tomorrow, um, the O-ring Ghostbusters are supposed to come out.
Go up. Yep. Yep.
And I'm getting them. I'm glad the 4 pack's only like $50.
Yeah.
But I gotta have them. I got the damn Ecto one. I gotta have
Mhm.
Ghostbusters. I bought that in anticipation of those figures.
Those things, yeah.
So you got that and the fresh monkey stuff, all of the Kickstarter stuff, all of the like the ramen stuff that looks cool. So much. The new Legions line that is up for pre-order now that ends in June. June is gonna get the wallet with no lube.
Oh, for real, for real. Yeah.
uh,
It's fucking everybody this month, man. This is crazy.
what do you think about the since they finally did it, the damn cantina, the vintage collection cantina? Did you see it?
Yeah, I listen. I love play sets. I'm a sucker for them, so you don't have to build the diorama.
Yeah,
So if you're gonna give me something where I can just buy it right out of box and play with it and set it up and take pictures on it, I'm in. I'm a sucker for accessories. I'm a sucker for vehicles. Anything that's gonna make the world that you're building look more realistic and more
yeah,
practical.
more
Right?
fleshed out. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm all into it. So whenever you give me that shit, like any vehicles on HasLab, I'm all like, I got the Dragonfly, so I'm waiting for that. I pre-ordered the Vanguard. I pre-ordered 2 camo tumblers just so I can match
oh
all
yeah,
of this stuff to the Joes and
yeah,
shit like that. But like, I'm all about it. So if you're gonna come out with anything, I mean, I'm a more of a 112 scale guy. You understand why they did it for the vintage because it's 118, so like you can get more out
yeah,
of it. But I would prefer something more for them. Like I know a lot of people talk about like they can't do planes because they're gonna be like 4 feet long, and you can't do this because it'll be this
yeah,
long. But I don't know, man. You build them, I think people will buy them. It's just the way it is because I know I'm one of those guys. Because it just the thought of having a 112 scale whale,
yeah.
I'd be all in. I'd be all in.
Yeah, and I think personally, I feel like they will do. I think they'll do a HasLab well eventually
Oh
because
yeah,
I
oh yeah,
the line's got enough. The line has enough left that they could do. They hadn't even started tapping in much to comic figures.
mm,
Some of the cartoon figures everybody wants. They really hadn't even touched that, and it's stuff they know people will buy. So the
mm.
line has plenty of life left in it. I think we will get a classified well, and
I hope so.
my whole thing for thinking this year's will be the Moray is because they said land, sea, and air. We haven't gotten sea yet,
Yeah,
and it's Cobra's turn. So that's my thinking for it being a moray, but the other two are contenders. The demon is actually for me bumping up past the rattler as far as what else next that it could be.
yeah.
But I think the next Joe one they do, I think it may be the whale because I think they're getting ready to start bumping the price up on the Joe HasLab because they know we're
Oh, for
going to
sure.
buy it.
Yeah, for sure.
I was surprised the Dragonfly was cheaper than the Hiss.
Yeah, I was shocked.
I was like,
Shocked.
well, yeah, I was like, well, this is great. Yeah, I
Yeah,
figured it would have been more with the success of the Hiss. We may
yeah,
get one more year of that, maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if it's the Moray, I think it would be. I think it'd be 350,
Oh, for sure.
maybe four. The
Yeah.
Whale would definitely be four.
The whale, yeah, I was thinking 4 or 5,
Yeah,
depending on
yeah.
fucking how big they make it and shit like that. Because but here's the thing, if you make it detailed and you make it real badass, it'll sell itself. Like
Oh yeah.
people will buy immediately.
And both of those vehicles can fit many figures
Yeah,
inside
yeah,
of them.
oh yeah,
If they're going to make it that scale, what the Whale
yeah.
held like three or four
More
guys
people.
in the
Yeah.
compartment in the front. So yeah, it's going to be big and it's going to be pricey, but I do think they'll do it
And if
at
you make a
some point.
112 scale, it better float on water. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it better still float, man.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I had so much fun with that thing. It was
Oh,
like
I
the
love
only
it, man.
thing that actually did float.
That was the only GI Joe vehicle I ever had because
Oh, was really?
my mother just would not budge. My mother and father just would not. Because, and now you get older, you look back and you don't blame them because you don't really
Right.
appreciate those toys as a kid, and you would have
No.
just I would have destroyed those fucking things because I
Yeah.
destroyed the whale, But I I remember getting that vehicle and thinking to myself like, this is the coolest thing ever to just put all the Joes, and not only that, you could put it on water and it'll
Yeah.
float. It was just so cool to me, man. Like
Yep.
for real.
I don't know if I ever took the whale down to that creek.
Creek. Oh, that would have been sick, dude.
If I did, I only did it a time or two, but I don't
Okay.
specifically remember taking it. Maybe we did and we took everything off of it.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because I mean, it would have made sense to take it because it floats, but I know I played
Yeah.
with it in the tub, that's for sure.
Yeah, let me tell you
And
something right now. All the
great.
talk about the creek that you keep talking about, I want to go play out a creek as an adult, like right now, because all
Well,
that talk about it.
come to Tennessee. Let me get the grass mowed at at the camper,
Mhm.
and I got spare beds. So yeah,
Oh, buddy.
uh, my camper sits up on a little bluff, a little ridge, and back of it goes straight down into a real pretty creek.
Very nice
I
creek.
got some good pictures from
Oh,
down
hell yeah,
there.
dude. I
I'll
take you
take
up for that.
do it. Oh
I
yeah,
might
yeah,
take
yeah.
you.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah, come on. I told Soy Enhancer. We were talking about it one night, and I was like, I'll
Yeah.
be there 4th of July. So,
Hell yeah.
um, but I go down there, man, and I'll take like you kind of got not really a hike, but it's kind of steep. But I got guide ropes and stuff up. It's manageable. Um,
Manageable.
but I'll take a camp chair and a cooler and a my backpack usually has my Kindle in it,
Hell yeah.
and I'll take that thing and I'll set it there in that creek, set my camp chair up, and set my cooler beside it on the little rocky pebble beach part right there. And I just sit there in that damn camp chair and drink beer and read.
Hell yeah.
And man, it's so relaxing.
So relaxing. I bet, dude. That sounds
Uh,
relaxing.
and I took a bunch of Joes down there last year and did like
Yeah.
some scenes down there. Had
Oh yeah.
like Zartan standing on this mossy ass rock, and
That's awesome.
actually took my faux pro underwater and took a picture like it was a
Yeah.
recon picture looking up
Yeah,
at
yeah.
him through the water.
That's a great
Uh,
shot, dude.
yeah,
Like I said, you definitely got the eye.
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to get there. It's fun
Yeah.
though.
Did you ever use like practical like fireworks and stuff behind them?
I have not yet. That is something I'm going to experiment.
Oh, it's so much fun. So much fun.
I bought a right after New Year's here. I guess maybe the day after, maybe New Year's Day or that next day, I went to one of the local fireworks tents that sets up because
Yeah.
we have restrictions in my county. You can shoot fireworks in my county because it is more of a rural county
Yeah.
um, for what passes for rural around here anymore. Um, but I went there after the fireworks and I bought a case of smoke bombs.
Oh yeah.
With
Nice.
that very intention was for
Yeah.
this summer for pictures like
I,
Drop Zone or something.
yeah. I highly recommend the little tanks. The little tanks that you light
Yeah.
up and they just
Oh
spark
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of those, put them behind put them behind them, and you'll
Hmm.
get really good blast effects. Like
Oh
really,
yeah.
really good. Yeah.
I didn't
So I
think
would highly
about that. I'd be
yeah.
too worried about them melting my
I,
Joes or
I
something.
I was too at first, but if you put them far back, you'll get the desired effect that you're looking for, and
Yeah,
it won't come near the Joes. It won't fuck with
that's a good idea. I'll have to grab
them.
some of them. But
Yeah,
that was the
I did that with Duke. Like I had Duke running,
yeah,
and I put a
yeah,
bunch of those things, and just they went off perfectly, and it literally looked
nice.
like he was running away from an exploding building. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. See, that was the first place my mind went for doing that was, the smoke bombs get like two or three of the same color and twist the
Yeah,
wick together and just have the shot set and
you gotta be
uh
careful with smoke bombs because like if you put them like, because I did the same thing with a drop zone, but I did excuse me, I did it with the drop zone troopers from Star Wars because they
Hmm.
were on clearance at GameStop for like $5 a piece. So I bought like 5 of them, and I attached um I don't know if you know the one that you light and it just turns different colors, like it just flames, but it just changes different
Yeah,
colors.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I flipped that upside down and I put it against one of the drop guy's backpacks, and I hung him with a wire, and I lit it so it looked like he was landing
Yeah.
into a pot into like 4 of them around. Like one guy was talking, so I had the firework go off on his back. That fucked him up. The
Yeah.
whole lie, like right. But I didn't. Like I said, $5. I
Yeah.
didn't really I don't really collect Black Series anyway, so I didn't give a shit. So I got that image great, and then I put smoke bombs. One, don't I mean you can do the tie, but that'll be just too much smoke, and it might like block the figure
Okay.
out, fuck everything up. So just find like certain spots where you can put them in, and then it'll just let it come up, and it'll look really good. It'll look like a drop zone and shit like
All
that.
right. Yeah, I'll check that. I'll try that method because that is definitely what I bought them for. I got a whole damn
Yeah.
case of smoke
Uh,
bombs in
oh
there.
yeah, it's smoke bombs are fun to fuck with the Joes. I have a good time with them. Like I
Yeah.
used to put them in dioramas, like in buildings, so it looked like the building was on fire.
Yeah.
Like smoke would come out through the window and shit. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool, man.
That's
Yeah,
cool. So my problem with doing that kind of stuff is I don't have a good place to do it. Like
yeah,
I don't have like a garage or
yeah.
anything where I can vent it, so it'd have to be outside
Right, yeah.
doing something like that. That's my only because
Well,
I thought about doing something like that too. I wanted to
mm,
kind of try to build something like like that NECA street scene or
yeah, yeah.
something like
Because
that.
I used to use the atmosphere spray.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but it dissipates real fast. So I just invested because we already had it through wrestling, a low laying fog machine.
Hmm.
So it's just a fog machine with a compartment that you put ice in. So
I
you get the
heard you. I heard you talking about that
yeah,
the other
man,
night.
man, it's the best. Like it'll literally just lay a thick layer of low fog on the table,
Yeah.
so you can
Well,
literally have them like they're walking through like mist and shit like that. It's really cool.
I was gonna get some atmosphere spray, and I could not find it
Yeah,
reasonable enough without buying like 4 or 6
cans.
cans or
Yeah, it's
something. I'm
expensive.
like,
That's another thing
oh,
too. It's expensive, and now
but
they have like little fog machines that you can get, like little and when I say little ones, I mean like handheld ones.
that's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
I bought one.
Oh, you got one. Okay.
I have the same one Wraith Mace has.
Okay. Right. And have
If
you used
you've
it yet?
seen his, yes,
And do you like it?
um, yes, it
Okay.
is. If you're using it in a room like this or similar, like
Yeah.
indoor, it's all you need.
Okay.
Uh, it was. I think it was kind of pricey,
Yeah.
but it is very well made. It's basically a giant vape.
Yeah. Right. That's what it usually
Uh,
is nowadays. Yeah.
but I tell you, go back and look through my Instagram, and
We'll do. Yeah.
I did some pictures
Okay.
with Roadblock. I did some with my cage with Metalhead,
All right. On.
and go back and find those. I did some with bats and Cobra Commander, like one
Oh
bat,
yeah.
and the bat ones really didn't turn out nearly as well as I wanted. But that
Mhm.
night, man, I just set up. I built the thing on my dining room table, and I built a little jungle scene.
Yeah.
And like I've actually got, I got bags of moss
Oh
and
yeah.
some I think I used a couple aquarium plants in it,
Plans. Yeah.
and I have a backdrop that was actually it was part of a display that I got from a Tractor Supply, like
Okay.
a stand up cardboard selling whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's mossy oak camo.
Okay.
And they give it to me. I got like 3 sections of it. Well, I set that up behind it and then built this jungle display with moss and lichens and shit. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
used that machine around it, and then I also put it on the set it up for the low line ground fog
Oh
for it.
yeah.
and just held it in the moss and
Right
let
on.
it run for a few
Yeah.
minutes and took it off, and it's got the mist rising up,
Yeah.
I've got some that I did that looks like a battle scene that has actually used I did mix a line for my lines. I used CoverGirl and Short
Okay.
Round,
Okay.
and CoverGirl is wielding the old Painless set from Gridiron,
Okay.
the Jesse Ventura gun,
Yeah.
and did a bunch of smoke around them like she just got through firing the thing off, and
Mowing
like,
things down.
yeah, like she's teaching him how to use the minigun. But I've got those are on my Instagram. I did some that come out really well
Okay.
using that machine.
Okay.
Um, that thing works great, but it also has a remote
Yeah.
because I can use it. I'm big into Halloween. Halloween's my favorite holiday,
Okay.
so I can hide that on a porch,
Yeah.
and people are coming up and use that remote, so I can get multiple uses out of it. But I
Hell yeah.
mainly bought it for photography.
Yeah. I've been looking at. I had one, but it fell and broke, so I have
Mm,
to buy a new one. So that's why I said, "Fuck it, let me just use this big fog machine that I have." And
yeah.
what I did was I went to Home Depot and I just got duct hose,
Hmm.
ducting hose, and I just slide it right over the feed part. I
Yeah.
put aluminum foil tape around it to hold it in place, and then as soon as I fire that thing up, I will say this: it does work better if you have it higher than wherever you're
Yeah.
shooting.
So it can sink.
Yeah, so it'll just flow right down that tube, and wherever you aim that tube, it just pours out right where you need it
Yeah.
to. So if I have like a hallway diorama set up, like I was doing the sewer thing where they were walking through the sewers,
Yeah.
I filled the bottom so you couldn't see the flooring, and you can only see them walking through. So it was
Yeah.
pretty good. But because it's like a giant fog machine for like you know like parties,
Stage.
yeah, and stage and stuff like that, it'll get away from you if you
Yeah.
fucking keep it on too long. So like that's why I kind of want to go back to the smaller ones.
Well, I was amazed at the volume that this one will put out. Like
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
yeah, I can only run it for 8-10 seconds at a time.
yeah.
And I've got my living room and like kitchen area is open. I got vaulted ceilings, and like 8 or 10 seconds of running that thing, and it's like, all right, like time to stop and go open the front door and turn the
Word.
fan on.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
volume. So I'm really impressed with that little machine. I think it was about $150.
yeah, yeah. That sounds
And it's
cool.
rechargeable.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's stuff like that for photography. If you didn't want to set up your big one, I think something like that would be a good investment because you're going
Um,
to use it a whole lot.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it worked really well for what I wanted.
Yeah,
I'm
that's fair
actually
enough.
curious now to. I want you to go back and find those pictures
Oh,
and
I
see what
definitely
you
am.
think about them
Yeah,
now.
I definitely will. And I'll send you a link to the stormtrooper ones because I have those on
Yeah,
my Instagram. So I'll definitely link you to those.
yeah.
Um, I will say this, buddy. 3 hours just kind of cruised by with you
Oh,
talking to you, man.
shit, it has, isn't
Yeah.
it? We're
So
getting
I
close.
really, yeah. So I appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate you to tell your story about your collecting and then everything like that. You
Yeah.
guys can follow down South77 at 3 Star Draw on YouTube, and I think it's down South77, or is it 3 Star Draw on Instagram? It's 3 Star Draw on Instagram as well.
No,
Correct?
Instagram is down south seven seven,
Okay, down
and
south.
it's backwards from how I usually write it because of the handles and whatever.
Okay,
So Instagram is down south 7 spelled out and then 7 the number
the
on
number. All right.
Instagram.
I will definitely link description below. Please click on it, give him a follow, give him a subscribe if you haven't, and like all his videos. Like I said, you got one of the smoothest voices I've ever heard, man.
I
And
appreciate
you
it,
got it.
man.
Yeah.
I don't think most people would say that, so I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'll
Nice.
tell you right now, straight up, dude, you do it for real. And I hope this is the first of many, bud, because I would definitely like to have you come back on the show sometime. We'll just, won't be
Yeah.
so formal the second time around. The
Oh
first
yeah.
time I have guys on, I keep it formal just to kind of get to know you and just so the audience can get to know you. And then when you come back, we'll just shoot the shit and stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate you
Uh,
having me on. Had a great time, and I'm
uh,
definitely looking forward to doing it again when we can
uh,
cut up and do silly ass voices.
oh yeah, it'll happen. But trust me when I tell you. Like I said, I keep the first one formal. Then after that, the wheels come off and we have a good time. You know.
Works for me.
So, all right. So, thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoy. Like I said, catch Down South 77 and at 3 Star Roll on YouTube, and Down South the word 7 and the number 7 afterwards. I am Tony. This has been Talking Figures. Please like and subscribe to Legend Series. And until next time, keep on playing, everybody.